And welcome to yet another Red Leaf Retrocast wrestling episode. It is time for episode 98, titled Nagoya Supreme Fight to the Roots. If you can guess by that title, there's going to be a lot of Stardom talk on this episode. And I'm going to go through the latest WXW show out of Germany, Back to the Roots. And I'll be joined by a special guest for the Stardom Joshi section. It'll be Alex from the Stardom Quest and Victory Through Guts podcast. I'm a big fan. He also does the Last Word on Sports work over there. I'm a big fan of his podcast. If you enjoy us, you'll find that you enjoy his work as well. One of the only All Japan women podcasters out there, along with myself. Love the work he does. Look forward to him later in the show. Also on this show, I will be covering a number of different kind of potpourri miscellaneous stuff. A big catch-up from kind of the month of January over various indie promotions, some matches that caught my eye. I kind of went on a binge watch here, hitting all kinds of different promotions. So that's kind of what I'll be working on and going through at the start of this podcast. After I go over some interesting statistical results in some Hall of Fame type things. Once I'm done with the indie stuff, that's when Alex will join me from Stardom Quest on all the Joshi news. Nothing on Dragongate this time around. They ran a couple house shows. Not really anything kind of worth going out of your way to watch. I think I gave like a 1 out of 3 recommendation on a semi-main at some point. We're just kind of waiting for Truthgate to kick off at Cork and Hall next week in February. Dragongate has a real bad habit of starting the year pretty slow in terms of a schedule. They run Cork in a few times, maybe they'll hit up Kyoto, but generally they kind of spin their wheels. Not this year to be fair. They definitely did some awesome angles throughout December and to start January, and now we're going to, as we head into Truthgate, see the next step in a lot of that. I do wish, comparatively, they'd had more ambition to run kind of bigger shows during this period, comparatively to Stardom and Noah, but regardless, we'll see how they do at a restricted Korakuen with that main event, Takashi Yoshida. I said on the last podcast, maybe he has some domestic following I'm not aware of, because I don't get it. WXW Back to the Roots, of course, happened. And then finish off at least the modern wrestling with some AEW New Japan talk. And I'll kind of save some New Japan stuff for later. There's, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And it's the retro from there. All Japan Women, episode 61, summer of 1992. New Japan through the 90s, February 8th, 1997, out of New Japan. Nice little Sapporo show there. And Nitro, July 5th, 1999, the go-home show for Bash at the Beach, 1999. Nitro's getting real tough these days, guys. Makes me really appreciate the kind of good wrestling that I do watch. So without further ado, time for some plugs. I gotta plug the Patreon, guys. Patreon.com/RedLeafRetrocast. Joshi 2010's journey. If you like all the women's wrestling talk that we do here, you will love the journey we're going on, myself and Kay, going through the coming out of the dark ages in Joshi wrestling, kind of out of the economic crisis. It's a slow crawl. It's a really cool thing we do. I really enjoy doing it. It's 2 episodes a month over on the Patreon, the lowest tier. And then if you super love what we do, on the $5 tier is a lot of the extra content I put out. I've been doing monthly statistics or projects I think are interesting, as well as some indie shows that I go to, mostly, the Beyond Wrestling. I'll kind of cover the main entire card over on the Patreon on that. I will be going in February to back to the FET festival studio, or whatever it's called for Beyond Wrestling, where it's going to be a big show over here in Rhode Island. And then, like a week later, I believe it's on Valentine's Day, I'm going to a women's wrestling show put on by WWR, Beyond Wrestling affiliate, where the only announced match is Allie Katch versus Who's she facing? Oh no. She's facing somebody that I actually like. I don't think it's Masha. But it's an alley catch match, so that's kind of all you need to know. Oh, Ashley D'Amboise. That's who she's facing. I like D'Amboise. I kind of want to see her progress, and boy, if you can carry alley catch through a match, that's some progress. I think Mega Main is supposed to be there, so probably look forward to those two shows on the Patreon, the $5 tier, as well as my LLPW reviews, Ladies Legends Pro Wrestling, each and every month. I'm getting to the FMW Invasion, quote-unquote, loosely, and the big crossover show with AJW, the very first one from LLPW, is, I believe, the next episode. So very excited to be covering that. Kay, my co-host, whom, if you haven't noticed, it's just me today. He's going through a little burnout, it seems, and he took a big L on Twitter, so maybe he's needs the break. It's fine. We're going retro on the Retrocast. It's a solo JD episode for the most part, and with the host later. He does JD Star reviews from 2001 onward, the Actress program, where he just went over the debut of Yumi Oka and some other very dire things that are occurring in JD Star. All right. Let's do this. So, on the Patreon, a few months ago, Kay and I did a Observer Hall of Fame for this year. And some of the names I voted for were obviously Okada, Los Brazos, Crockett, Don Owen. I voted for Kidani. I made a case for Ibushi, and various luchadors as well. Octagon really was high on in the end. Voted for Sergeant Slaughter, Junkyard Dog. And if you want to hear kind of the reasonings and run through of kind of everybody and what we think, go check out that Patreon episode. It was a lot, and it made me also realize where there's gaps in my knowledge, such as Memphis wrestling. Do not know a lot about that. Maybe I ought to take a better look at the Montreal territory, which I'll get to here in a second. So the results were Okada in with 92%, and that caused some very interesting takes. I found and listened to quite a few people against Okada, which kind of blew my mind because it really didn't make sense to me really at all. But Crockett Jr. got in with like 89, Los Brazos 80 plus, and then Don Owen made it at the end. So I voted for all four of these people, and it's very nice to see. Kidani, however, completely dropped out, who I voted for, which was kind of bummer to see. I don't think Sergeant Slaughter is right on the cusp of getting in. I think maybe next year he could cross that threshold, especially now with the American, we'll call it a bracket, not really having that star power that people could vote for. And there is such a thing as people feeling like they are compelled with the need to vote for somebody. And I think Sergeant Slaughter is going to be that guy next year. And the same goes for the Mexico bracket with the Luchadors, because Mystico, a guy I didn't advocate for. I was not feeling Mystico. Yes, he was a huge draw in his day, but it's really a case of CMLL is in dire straits since he came back from WWE, and he didn't do well there, and it really hurt his stock. So, could Mystico go in next year since he was only one vote away? The Craig Biggio thing of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Speaking of which, David Ortiz, Baseball Hall of Fame, well earned. I have my opinions over Ortiz himself, but I am one of those guys that believe that the steroid guys should not go in. You cheat, you're out, period, end of story. I don't care, including Pete Rose. Gambling, you don't gamble on your team, for your team, any team, against your team. You don't do it. Now, if you want to talk about perhaps some historical ballot of significance for a lot of these people, yeah. People who dropped or are dropping off, Kyoko Inoue completely dropped out, as expected. And the more you look into Kyoko Inoue, she just doesn't quite have that resume that you think she does. And Meiko Satomura, the more you look into her, she's possibly one of the worst candidates next to Trish Stratus out there. People like, and we went into a lot of detail on those two specifically because, you know, that's kind of where our knowledge is the strongest, I would say. And boy, when you look at Meiko's kind of body of work, when especially after Gaia closed, it's not that great. And I know there's some people that credit her with holding the scene together. I don't think she did. I don't think she did at all. I think like Mayumi Ozaki has a better case for that with her at Oz Academy. But regardless. So next year, Rossi Ogawa, our boy, our man, Hat Man, he's going to be on the ballot next year. And there's a lot of research to be had with one Rossi Ogawa, with his role in the Crush Gals, his many roles in many hats within All Japan Women, the important part he played, and kind of the important part this man has had over women's wrestling over the decades. And when you kind of put that all together, the historical significance from a women's wrestling perspective, which, by the way, the Observer Hall of Fame just simply does not have the representation of women's wrestling that I really think it should. I suggested maybe people looking at like a Dynamite Kansai, Mayumi Ozaki, Shinobu Kandori, these type of people more, and Rossi Ogawa is kind of included on that list. Will I vote for him next year? I'm strongly considering it. Do I think he has a case? Yeah, sure. You can. I think for any promoter, any person that has a long history in the industry should absolutely be considered. And then it's up to people like me and the women's wrestling fans out there to kind of dive into what role this man has played trying to, like, if you want to talk about a guy that's trying to keep the scene together, it's Rossi Ogawa. All Japan Women was going through rough times with essentially the promotion closing down. What does he do? He brings up Arcean, and it's immediately one of the most successful promotions in Japan during an era that they were struggling with. And then, of course, you meet the promoter's death, where not literally, but with talent issues, and there's stories of him living out of his car, maybe taking consulting roles in JD Star, which, if you listen to Kay's reviews over JD Star, has a lot of significance to the way the scene went and survived. And Stardom is very much part of his it's his promotion. He started with Fuka, who came. There you go. It all rolls together, and maybe not now. Rossi has the credentials for, say, a Western Wrestling Hall of Fame. I think in Japan, a lot of people would definitely consider him higher. And depending on how Stardom continuously grows from here, that's a big case for the guy. Johnny Rougeau out of Montreal territory, that's another guy. Like a lot of these promoters, I really want to take a hard look at, because when I was going over Crockett and Don Owen out of the Portland territory, there's a lot to get behind over figures like this in a Hall of Fame. And with that said, I feel like it's time for me to play a drop here, and I can go into some dunk territory here. Here we go. Okay. So that takes care of that. And if you heard that music, that was the music of one formerly known as Walter. I gotta crack my beer for this man. Because, boy, pour one out for the guy. He is... ist jetzt Gunther. Und Sie haben... I don't even have the energy. One of my favorite wrestlers in the world is now a fucking Nazi, guys. They did it. WWE has done it. I was thinking about dumping and dunking on GCW WRLD first, but I gotta go into NXT 2-point shit. Because this is awful. My favorite wrestler of the last 5 years is now with a Nazi gimmick, because I guess Adolf was taken. And Saray, who I'm not even the biggest fan of in the Joshi world, Saray, she's now a fucking magical schoolgirl. She's gonna come out with a fucking wand, and she's winking at the camera with her school outfit. This is bullshit. This is very upsetting. I might catch my breath. Yeah, drink some beer. Although when the news broke and we were all in chat in the Red Leaf Retrocast Discord chat, we were all dying laughing because it's so bad. You can't help but be entertained by how horribly terrible it is. So yeah, the list goes on. We got Nazis, we got schoolgirls. Let's talk about the Royal Rumble. Why not? I watched it. I like the Royal Rumble. And I went in thinking the Women's Royal Rumble is going to be the worst thing I've ever seen, because the Divas are back, boys. Do you have nostalgia for 10-year-old bad wrestlers? Well, you got it. Because half this Rumble was filled with I can't even call them nostalgia acts, because I just don't know who they're for. Ivory came out to Right to Censor a 21-year-old gimmick. She's 60 years old, and she came in and out and yelled at a mic, whatever. I don't understand. Melina comes in. She's looking thicker these days. Good for her, but she's thrown out in 2 seconds. You want to talk about magical schoolgirls? Sasha Banks literally came out like Sailor Goddamn Moon. Holy shit. This company. They let her do that. I mean, I popped. I'm an anime fan, but not a Sailor Moon fan. It's one of the Anime Cast's most negative episodes, at least in terms of listener feedback. They didn't like us dunking on Sailor Moon all that much. Oh, man. Tamina is doing her best to not throw anybody out. She's in fact saving them. You got Summer Rae coming in. The Bellas are back. I'm sure Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley really got the rub from Charlotte and the Bellas in this match, because they're total stars. The Men's Royal Rumble was a snooze fest. Ronda Rousey came back 4 months after childbirth, but now she's a ninja, I guess, throwing terrible punches. Which is weird for a UFC fighter, but hey, here we are. Brock Lesnar loses. Every match was bad in some way. Between the Roman Reigns DQ finish for kicking too much ass, to Miz and Maurice having to wrestle, which is a chore. Just terrible. Yeah, Maurice looked good. She was in essentially red lingerie and her boobs falling out. But that's kind of the story of the women, because the Divas are back. And we spoke on the last podcast, the state of Western women's wrestling, is considering Impact and WWE, where they're really into the word and image of diva again. They want very beautiful women, the wrestling secondary, and they book it as such. They'd rather them talk and giggle and slap each other's wrists than go in there I don't know, Serena Deeb and pick ankles. So here we are. Brock Lesnar went in there and tossed everyone out like a nerd, because they all are, including Big E, the guy everyone loves, but he's yesterday's news. Yeah, get him out of there. Nobody. In fact, the biggest stars are Bad Bunny, Johnny Knoxville, and Shane McMahon. God damn it, this company's terrible. All right, let's dunk on GCW. So GCW ran Dull World at the Hammerstein, the Stone Hammer place that desperately needs a paint job. They shot it like crap. It is crap. Every match was fucking terrible, except I think Blake Christian, Leo Rush. I like that. I think I gave it 2 out of 3 stars, Rex. Why not? There was a crazy lucha match that, there was a lot of ambitious things that they did. Not one of my favorite lucha things I've seen, but I still went 1 out of 3. But besides the Battle Royal being terrible, the ladder match filled with guys trying their best to kill themselves, decapitate and the like. We had Matt Cardona versus Joey Janela, which started out good. He came out to Sandman and trolled everyone, and then it was one nostalgia interference pop after another. Jeff Jarrett and Effie was an atrocious match. because Jeff Jarrett did his best to go an entire match without taking a single bump, the Makabe syndrome, if you will. And he wins, because of course he does. It's Jeff Jarrett. Ali Catch and Soho had a terrible match. And that was the other story. This is all about the Misfits toys finally making a big venue. You say they couldn't do it, they said. Well, y'all lost, so I guess you couldn't do it. Terrible. Not to mention the 4-minute main event featuring Matt Tremont and an immobile Nick Gage. Just bad. What a bad show. And that's it for GCW. I don't think they're going to be able to run anything like this remotely again. Not only do I think this was their peak, I also think they blew their chance for people to come back, because now we've already seen it. The novelty of the first time is gone. They can't do that again. And for a company that's built on death matches and their rambunctious crowds, this show had none of that. And that was a big failure. So we're back to Impact and New Japan Strong and various other indies really competing for that number 3 spot in terms of attendance. Yeah, all right. Random Puro stuff. I got that. Do I have any drops for my Yes, I do. I do. Now I just got to get there. Here we go. Okay. I do want to mention that Voices of Wrestling had their big annual Match of the Year poll. I participated in that as well. Really cool to see that Ice Ribbon got number 27 overall. That's easily the highest they've ever done with the Tsukushi Tsukasa match. The Gaiism match that a lot of indie fans got 26, and then Stardom cleaned up. They even the Shuri Utami match even got a top 5 finish, number 5 exactly. And the cool breakdown is Match of the Year points. AEW got first place by double. New Japan got second, and then Stardom got third, with Noah, WWE, NXT, and DDT kind of all in the same ballpark of each other, which is very interesting. Even Ice Ribbon got 10th place overall from promotions covered. And then for some more perspective, TJPW didn't do that well despite, at least in our neck of the woods, a lot of praise for TJPW in 2021. The Miyu Yamashita Ito match, I believe, was their highest at Wrestle Princess, but that got in the 70s. And then everything else was kind of outside the top 100, including the Mizuki Maki match that I voted for. But Stardom within the top, I think it was 15 or 20, had about 5-6 matches on there. So it's very good from Stardom this year. Much stronger than Noah, definitely stronger than Dragongate. Dragongate's top match, I think, got 33. Dragongate lost a lot of steam last year. Considering a lot of people came for they came at the beginning of 2021 when their second half was so strong. They didn't do anything, and then they gained a lot back with Kobe World and the Yoshino retirement, and then again they spun their wheels for a couple months. So in terms of maintaining viewership and maintaining interest from the Western perspective, they didn't do that well. But as for the Random Puro stuff, and I'm just going to go into the US indie stuff as well, and even AAA. I'll just kind of run through it all in one solid segment here. These are matches I felt are worth watching and talking about for one reason or another. I watched a few of the GHC title matches from Noah, because I do like Katsuhiko Nakajima. I do think he's the best guy on the roster of a roster of old men. Well, he took on Go Shiozaki on the January 1st show. Easy 3 out of 3 recommendation. Check that out. Nakajima kicked, Shiozaki chopped him. He was coming back. And of course, if you pay attention to the booking, Shiozaki, because he came back from injury, now he must lose all the time and get his mojo back. But I think it's archaic. I think does more harm than good. But Nakajima is on a roll, and I think he's going to face like Fujita or someone in February, so that can fuck off. Not interesting. So Ryuki Honda in All Japan Pro Wrestling, yes, this indie promotion now, he booted the face off of Jake Lee, so the title was vacated, which created a 4-way tournament. Miyahara defeats Sawama. I did skip that match. I didn't hear rave reviews about it. And then I heard about Ryuki Honda, who's 21. He turned heel, and they're basing a lot of the heel turn off of, this is my understanding, the Jake Lee move. So he's 21. Yeah, he's still got to like work on his body and all that, but I believe he came from Russell 1 as with Ashino. And look, he broke Jake Lee's face. He comes in this tournament, and he turned heel. So not only is All Japan like finally deciding to put the pedal to the metal with somebody young, now that Nomura and a few guys have left, Honda's a good candidate. I know he hadn't won any singles match to AJPW prior, but a hell of a way to get it started. I don't mind. You're there. Look, All Japan Pro Wrestling's in crisis mode. They kind of got to do everything they can, and if everything they can involves pushing young talent, have at it. I'm all for it, because as much as the matches didn't blow me away, I enjoyed what I saw, and I had a lot of hope. The Honda Ashino match got to play a little bit more into Honda's heel role. Maybe they can run that back in the Carnival or something or another. And Ashino really shouldn't be losing Triple Crown title matches as quickly as he has. I think it was like 3 in like 14 months or something that he lost. I could be wrong, but he's lost too many. And you don't want to build the perception that he's a loser. So Ryuki Honda kind of doing an upset and him getting the push, everyone's going to be excited about the young guy. And so Miyahara defeats Ryuki Honda. Miyahara definitely gave this guy a lot. I gave this match 2 out of 3 recommendation. Ryuki Honda Ashino, I gave 1 out of 3. Look, Miyahara's super great. If you remember back in the day on this podcast, I was watching every Miyahara Triple Crown match that I could. I loved them all, including the one against Kai, who is the Dreamgate champion now. Go figure. So Miyahara's back on top. It definitely has me interested, although, much like with Dragongate, the next main event, I am not watching. Well, I'll watch the Dragongate one, but I won't like it. Miyahara against Abdullah Kobayashi. Kick rocks. Not watching that one. No thanks. I don't need to watch a comedy deathmatch guy face off against Kento. But look, All Japan, they need the stability. They need to keep pushing guys like Honda and Ashino. Probably get a couple more guys up there. Maybe get some freelancers like I think it's a Tomura out of Big Japan. Use him. Use Strong Hearts. Will Shima do the job to Miyahara? I doubt it. They'll probably treat him like a junior because that's just how they roll. But regardless, you might want to check out at least the finals for the vacant title and see Kento Miyahara just doing what he does best. USA indie stuff. I was told I should probably check out that Miyahara Aoyagi tag match against Ashino and Suwama. I mean, yeah, it's a little late in that now. I do like my tag wrestling. Not sure if I want to dive more into All Japan or Noah at this minute. I did watch a lot of things. Action wrestling from a show called Southeast First. If you remember on the Patreon, I went to the Restival in which there was an action cross-sup wrestling show. And AC Mack was there kind of the whole weekend. I've seen him on a few Beyond shows prior. He's got a really, really good mic shtick going on with the hush deal. The story going into this match for the IWDB title was Alex Shelley was ducking him. The North was ducking him. He was putting too much mileage on his car. He didn't want to travel, the whole spiel. And when they show up in Georgia, AC Mack is a god. He is very over. So when Alex Shelley comes out, he immediately is like, oh, okay, this is how we're going to play. And he plays a great counter heel to AC Mack, who's super over. He didn't do his total heel shtick. It was definitely over with the crowd. So it's a huge babyface reaction. Pro South wins a good limb work battle, because Alex Shelley worked that arm stupendously, and the whole match was built on AC Mack selling his arm and not being able to hit, I think it's like El Phantasmo finisher, the cross-armed pedigree deal. So AC Mack keeps going for his little pedigree thing, and he can't do it because of the arm. Alex Shelley keeps getting out of it, and finally AC Mack just decides to roll this guy up and pins him. So a new champion, and he cuts in a great promo after the match where it involved the fact that if you are a person who wants to challenge me for this thing, you got to come to the South. You got to come to Georgia, the Carolinas, the Kentuckys, the Tennessees. He's not going north. And while that's going on, Limitless, Beyond, and company are tweeting at the guy saying our northern wrestlers are better than your puny southern ones. So they got a real fun north versus south storyline going on here, where AC Mack's not outright denying he will go up north. If he does go up north, you got to fly him Delta out of Atlanta, not flying no Spirit Airlines garbage. Can't blame the guy. This is super interesting. I love this. He even kind of threw in a little jab saying they said you'd never make it without going to Beyond or Limitless or Who You Sleep With, because he is an openly gay man. So, good match. I gave it a very easy 2 out of 3. It doesn't have that high work rate level that you come to expect from kind of my recommended 3 stars there. But nonetheless, the story and the promos were good enough where it elevated it to a 2 out of 3. And these will be quick. Northeast Wrestling, WrestleFest 26. Thunder Rosa defeats Megan Bayne. 1 out of 3, simple, solid. If you want to see kind of who a rising star is in the indie scene, that's Megan Bayne. What the match was lacking was definitely energy and kind of pop during it all. And after that was Black versus Christopher Daniels. It's Malachi Black. Christopher Daniels has been on kind of this indie tear. Really get back in the shape, back in the ring game. Well, Malachi Black put a stop to his flippiness. 1 out of 3. I did enjoy it, though. And then the Warrior Wrestling show. These were all from like January 22nd. Ospreay defeats Brian Cage to retain the Warrior Wrestling title. I gave this an easy 3 out of 3. This is where Brian Cage is excellent, where there's no TV restrictions. He can just catch these flippy dudes and flip occasionally himself. This is his strength, and this absolutely played into it. And Ospreay's great. AAA TV, January 30th. Erez and Latigo lose to Laredo Kid and Ramos. Another 3 out of 3. Just excellent. Lucha Libre that you and I can get behind. Laredo Kid was excellent in this match. He was the only one that didn't really botch anything or make it look super slow. But man, there was just everything you could imagine, from Aussie moonsaults, suplex destroyers, Canadian destroyers. It's got everything. Erez and Latigo, to their credit, played great bases for a lot of the high-flying moves seen throughout. So go seek that out. You can find it probably on Lucha Blog somewhere, or he has a Google Drive link, or threw it up on his YouTube. So that's my romp through randomness. And now you will hear a drop, and we will transition into the Stardom section of the podcast. And it's time for Joshi Wrestling, the women's wrestling. I'm joined by Alex from Stardom Quest, Victory Through Guts, and a number of other websites you write for. Dude, finally, it's happened.
Yeah, I'm doing the media tour. As you can tell, I did just Joshi there, and now I'm on yours, and living the life here.
I know. I had a fan kind of go, dude, you're, at least towards me, it's like, dude, you're everywhere. You were on One Nation Radio. You're on PWI Just Joshi. So yeah, we tag teamed that episode. That was good stuff. And then, and then I was just on Scotty's 5-Star Joshi podcast talking about a show we're going to talk about later with Stardom. the Nagoya Crunchwrap Supreme fight. So on the agenda here, I have a couple Wave shows and kind of Wave in general as a topic that I'd like to discuss with you, and a number of these little offshoot, I don't want to call them promotions, but definitely groups. And since you're well-versed in Joshi of the past, maybe we can make some like Triple Tails references. There's some more deep cuts there of the scene, but you get I think you get the idea of what I'm driving at with them and colors and prominence and the like.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
And then of course a lot of Stardom. They had a big show, drew well, a lot more stats, poking fun at Dragongate, which I'm very into these days. It's quite fun and funny to do. As a Dragongate fan, it's still funny.
For Dragongate.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if they don't want to run anything bigger than Cork, and it's not Stardom's fault they're doing better. But okay, Wave, I think, so there's some fans of the podcast, and JPQ, Just Joshi, he's a big Wave fan, and he's been trying to get me on the Wave bandwagon for quite some time, and what doesn't do it for me, in at least since their relaunch, since they did shut down there for a little while, unfortunately, it just doesn't have kind of that freelance star power that it used to have back in the early 2010s to the mid 2010s with Masaki Iwata and company. Now it seems very isolated, but a lot of the undercard is very much focused on comedy acts and short and small cards. But recently, with the addition of colors into the scene, since Actress Girls closed down and we're kind of seeing prominence kind of pop in as well, what is your kind of take and look at Wave going into 2022? Because I watched these two shows and there's something there that I think a lot of us Joshi fans can get into.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough talent that they use regularly to do some really, really cool stuff. It's just whether they want to do that or not, or if they want to stay loyal to their own core roster. You know, I mean, I love Nagisa Nozaki as much as anybody, but, you know, would I rather see at least 2 or 3 other people as Regina the Wave champion? Yes, I would. You know, so it's kind of like...
It sure feels that way, right?
Yeah, like the talent is there, but then I don't know if they're gonna fully make use of it, and I don't even know if they want to really, which is, you know, it's their own thing. But yeah, I mean, between prominence, the marvelous talent that they're always using, they have access to the JTO girls. Like there's no excuse for them to not put on really, really good shows consistently.
I think so, and I'm looking at. I know it's kind of egregious to look at small attendance numbers, but when I'm looking back in the early 2010s on our Joshi 2010s journey, Wave and Ice Ribbon and even JWP during that era, they would consistently get 200 to 400 people in some of their shows. Obviously, we're in a COVID period now, but we're talking 2 years into this now. When is there some validation to having fans at least come to capacity or close to it, at least at some point now? Because we are a couple years into this thing at this point.
I think a lot of companies are going to start doing that relatively soon. I know some of them are making the decision to change over in a couple of months' time. I can't remember the exact date, but I know there is a time coming where people will be able to choose whether they do, you know, half capacity or, you know, with cheering or no cheering and full capacity. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do think we're getting to that point.
Yeah, I was perusing through Tokyo Joshi Pro, and they had kind of a set date in mid-March because they want their sumo hall to be with crowds and cheering and potentially with streamers, much like what Ice Ribbon has chosen to do, is bring streamers back in low capacity, at least at their dojo shows or the whatnot. And that changed to after the sumo hall shows when they go back to Korakuen in the following month. But with the whole Miyu Yamashita and Makito going to Portland, Oregon, of all places, maybe that's gonna change in some weird way. It's such a random thing that has broken the news, is Tokyo Joshi Pro and this just offshoot indie thing in Oregon in the United States. How familiar are you with the geography of the US?
Not very. I know there's like 2 Portlands, and I always get confused between them.
So there's a Portland, Maine that I go to with Limitless. That's over here on the East Coast, north of Boston. Then there's Portland, Oregon, the biggest city in that state, over on the West Coast above California, in nothing but like a barren geologic wasteland of, nice geology, I will say. I have been out there, but not the most robust environment to draw a crowd, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, that sounds about as strange as when like the Italian promotion here is like bringing in Asuka and stuff, and I'm just like, how are you doing this? Like, who? There are wrestling fans in Italy? Like, when did that happen?
It's like Sunrise or something on WXW Now. I have seen that.
Yeah, are they any good?
I'd prefer Body Slam out of Denmark if we're making deep cuts here. But speaking of Body Slam, they're running an all-women's show coming up here, and they hope to get it on WXW Now as quick as they can after the show airs. So that's an opportunity to see a lot of European women talent that you haven't seen out of the UK and have been looking for a spot in coming out of like Sweden, other areas of Germany, and the like. So that could be something to look out for.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, at least from a scouting perspective, I doubt. Look, I'm going to see Alley Catch at an all-women show like next week. Dear. I'm not sure that my bar is very high these days, at least from a live perspective. But anyways, back to Wave. I know what you mean with the talent's there, because if I look at some of these cards that they ran on the 16th and the Versus Colors show, you have Colors, Hikari Shimizu. I'm not the biggest Saki fan in the world, but I think she's doing good things with her role. Yuko Sakurai, I'm a huge fan. I think she has a ton of potential. And Rina Amakura is quite shocking me in the last couple shows I've seen her. Someone with a singing shtick, but there's also Haruka Umasaki, Ren Katakura from Marvelous, Miyuka Takase speaks to herself. We're huge fans. That's the music you heard prior. The talent's there. And my worry with Wave, and this is why I kind of maybe ream into these promotions too hard, is because as a fan of what I like, and I want to see these promotions grow, doing so much comedy on a show gets very repetitive and wearing. And just from what I can see in reactions and crowds not really coming back to, I think, the way they should. I mean, if you've seen that, not a direct comparison, but there's pictures coming out of the latest Marvelous show at a Shinkiba, and there was like 40 people there. No, it's not apples to apples, but that's kind of what we're dealing with here, is how can we go from essentially nobody showing up to some people showing up?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the hard part, isn't it? Because I mean, like these promotions have no visibility. You know, like how do you grow when your only way of maybe spreading your name is by doing flyers or hoping you catch fire on Twitter or booking a legend who already has a following. You know, like what can Wave do or Marvelous do beyond convincing Lioness Asuka to risk her neck again? You know, like what can they really do to get people in, unless they get, you know, a TV deal or like a big partnership with Stardom? But even then, I mean, Marvelous has that Stardom partnership and it hasn't exactly brought people in the doors.
Well, not with just Takumi Iroha. Could Marvelous, I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, but it's all kind of the same topic, is could Marvelous benefit from maybe pushing some of their other talents on bigger shows? I thought the Ren Katakura Mayu combo in Tag League did some good things. Do you think maybe there's some validity to maybe a prominence type faction thing with Marvelous coming into Stardom and them going back and forth between shows? Would Stardom even want to do something like that to help out Marvelous?
I could see Stardom being into it. Like Rossi and Nagoya go back long enough that I think they would do each other that solid at least. But again, it's one of those where I don't know if it would work because Marvelous doesn't really have the depth of prominence, you know, and I don't love everybody in prominence, but I mean, Suzu and Risa alone as the top two is better than most of what Marvelous could offer. And I'm a big fan of people like Maria and Rin Kadokura, but I'm not sure Stardom's audience is going to be drawn to them. And maybe Mio could, because Mio is obviously exceptional, and I think she's really charismatic and has a really different appeal. If they were to invade and start doing crossovers, I'm not sure they have the depth to really keep that going.
Yeah, and there's just not a lot of. I mean, you look at what irritates me about a lot of lower end. That sounds very negative, but the lesser promotions, your Nagisa Nozaki's, your not Takase to an extent, but they do keep promotions tend to keep her away from their main events for one reason or another. But even with Marvelous, with Rin Kadokura, or even Amy Omomono, I never get the feeling that they're moving up the card, even if the card is 5 people. They're just always stuck below the ace. Would there be a benefit to, say, what we saw with Rin last year, getting far in Catch the Wave, with, for example, more people spreading out to these other promotions and perhaps getting at least more main event opportunities to prove themselves? Could that at least help out their home promotion in some way or fashion? Or could that even help out a Wave with booking fresh talent up at the top to compete with Nozaki? Could that be something that even Wave can benefit from?
It's possible. I mean, pushing new people seems like everybody's always says that. That's always like the go-to fix things. I'm not sure it's like as easy as just going, okay, well, here's this new person. We're going to push them, and because they're fresh, people will like it. Like I feel like the Marvelous fan base goes to see what they're getting.
Sure.
And to a lesser extent, Wave is too. I don't think more people are going to go to a Marvelous show because Maria is in the main event. Like, they are there to see Nagayo's project and to see some of her old friends and to see Takumi, stuff like that. Like, I'm not sure you can grow that audience by just saying, okay, here's Maria in a main event, here's Maria beating Takumi. And then if you have Maria beat Takumi too much, then Takumi loses a lot of her luster. And then
that is a major risk. Yeah, that is a major risk, absolutely. Because there is something to be said with keeping your main events, or at least main eventers, strong, even if it's just one person. And yeah, it's not as simple as, I do agree, it's not as simple as plug and play. You got to build people up. And part of my frustration is you don't really see that. I mean, we joke about Miko Iwata like constantly, where it's just pain to root for her because it just nothing ever comes of it. And she's just I think the most fun example to use. I use the word fun in jest, but like she's an example. She's been around for 7 years now. She's never been even perceived as a main eventer. She just loses all the time, and she's not the only example of this. There's a lot of them, and it's rampant throughout the scene. So when I'm talking about Wave starting to do good things, it all comes from the faction colors and what they can offer to the promotion. And I see a lot of potential in at least that sort of storyline going forward, and you can build these people up to help out the promotion and your group. And to make a historical reference, we saw a lot of that with Triple Tails in the early 2010s with Kana and the Asuka and the protection of the Shirai sisters, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the colors one is a bit different, just because like Kana herself had such an aura that I don't think any of the colors girls have, and also colors seems to maybe want to do their own thing as well, which might muddy it up if they ever get involved in running their own shows and being a bit too protective. That could mess things up. Whereas Triple Tails were just like, going to travel around, just going to do stuff. Might run the odd show, but I mean,
yeah,
we're going to come to your show. So that'd be the main difference to me, is that I don't think Colors has a Kana figure that could pull people in the door and have these like huge matches. But I mean, they definitely are something that could add a lot of depth to various different promotions and generally beef up a card and make it more attractive for pay-per-view, which, I mean, everybody does now. So, I mean, you need to have an attractive card if you're going to get people to buy it.
Well, one thing that I think Wave is doing well right now is booking Saki. And what's happening with that is Saki and Hikari Shimizu, Galaxy Punch, great tag team name, by the way, They're the Wave champions, and they defeated Nagisa Nozaki and Takumi Iroha, a very powerful team, in a main event of the show on the 16th. I wasn't totally in love with the match, and I'll get into reason why in a second, but just sticking on topic here. I believe it was Saki pins Nagisa Nozaki, and that's setting up a future title match of sorts, or at least a rivalry between the Colors faction and Wave itself. And I'm seeing, my point is they're trying. And that's kind of what I ask as a fan, is I want to see you at least try to build something and do something. Obviously, these things take a lot of time. They might not, they might work, they might not. Can we get from 158 people to 200 people? That could be a success in their eyes. And in my eyes, if you're trying and you get to that 200, I think that's also a value of success that you can measure. And when you're getting something like Saki, who I don't think is the biggest star in the world, but she's presenting herself as such, and it doesn't come across to me that she's kind of, to use a word people hate nowadays, but old guard in herself, where she's overprotective, has this mindset that she's bigger than everyone else. You get the idea behind that. I'm not getting that feeling with her and what Colors is doing, and the next show was kind of a prime example of that.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
And as for the match, I think this is and just from a style perspective of Wave, I'm not a fan of the comedy. I think they overdo it. And it bleeds into their main events, which I think hurts, at least from trying to take something you're trying to do seriously away from it. But the style is something I've really noticed over the last 6 months between Stardom, even TJPW to an extent. I'll get into why, compared to the rest of the scene. You get what I'm driving at?
I'm not picking it up yet.
Okay, so hear me out. I watched, just to kind of bounce to a random Stardom match on a house show, Dono Del Mundo, Maihime against the Queen's Quest duo, Saya, Kamitani, and Utami. This was from the January 16th show. It was right after the Unagi Mirai 15-minute draw. And the way these duos work in Stardom is it's just constant energy coming out of the ring. They're always running. It really reminds me of an AJW type match of the late 80s, early 90s. There's never stop and go to it, and in a Corona environment, it seems like it really brings excitement to the match and gets you into it, and they work really fast and hard. While comparatively, when I watched this Galaxy Punch against Nozaki and Iroha, it was very traditional. It was very slow-paced, isolation, not working as hard. And I have seen this before in various indies in America and the like, where, to use the T-shirt Naito phrase, they're not quite working to their fullest because they kind of want to save their bodies. This is their livelihood. I get it. But it's also not creating the same excitement level that I'm seeing other promotions do, and Stardom's kind of my prime example here. And I even see that in the main events of TJPW shows.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, TJPW is their in-ring is definitely not their main focus, so I can kind of understand it there. Yeah, I kind of get what you mean with the Wave thing. And that might just be Nozaki really presenting that, and I think Takumi as well, since the knee injury, has been more likely to take the foot off the pedal in matches.
Think she's a little gun-shy these days, maybe?
Yeah, she definitely doesn't go full Takumi as much as she used to. As somebody who watched her, like, what I would consider her peak, like, when her and, like, Sari were killing it, and as with Hashimoto and stuff, like, that was, like, she was on all the time during that run. But she doesn't do that as much.
I know, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch a lot of that. It's kind of out of my memory. I'm so into modern Iroha, to use a weird way of putting her. But yeah, even Nozaki seems to be working a lot slower. She's got a ton of tape on her back. She looks like she's working through injuries, and I get that. But then when I see like Saki and Hikari Shimizu, they also don't look like they're working as fast. They're probably working around and with them, because I know Hikari Shimizu has a lot more explosiveness behind her running the ropes, but she's sure selling a lot when she comes into Wave. Because she's a lot smaller, obviously.
Yeah, it's a pity because like she's got some of the most like exciting offense that I've seen in the Joshi picture. But a lot of her matches are generally her being on the receiving end of a bit of a beating, which is very disappointing as somebody who loves kicks. She throws some nice ones.
You want to throw some old 90s wrestlers out there that throw some good kicks?
Yo, let's go. I mean, Harley Saito.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's who I was thinking of, yeah. Watching some of these old AJW shows, there's Saki Asagawa. It's like she's spamming an X button on a Tekken character or something. That's all she does.
I love Saki. Asagawa is the best.
It seems every match I watch from AJW in these early 90s right now, she's busting someone's mouth up and open. I'm like, good God, why? Anyways, yeah, I know what you mean about Hikari Shimizu. I really like her kicking style. She brings something really fresh and new to a style, and that's really what I like about Takase with her chops and power game. And there was a match here, Yumi Oka versus Haruka Umasaki. Did you watch this one?
I don't think so, sadly.
Okay, so I would be pretty excited for this because I do like watching Yumi Oka matches. I like the tall big boot style, weirdly enough. I think it's very simple and effective. Maybe that's why I'm not as hard as my Sakurai as many others are. But Haruka Umasaki, I think, has a ton of potential in the scene. And now we're 3 years into her career now? Something like that. It seems now would be the time to start breaking out. And when I watched this Oka Umasaki match, she just got eaten alive in the ring. It was just a lot of selling, a lot of mat work. I don't think that has everything to do with Yumi Oka, and I base that because the very next show she faced Rina Amakura, who was, I will say, not as good as Haruka Umasaki, and Rina did not get eaten up, and she was able to really bring a lot of fire and energy to her, which really surprised me. And maybe it has something to do with the booking that they were doing that day. What is your take on Haruka Umasaki in the scene right now, and what can she offer to Wave?
Outside of being Takase's tag partner, I'm not sure she offers a lot. Mainly because she doesn't really have much star power. Like she isn't pushed in Diana for whatever reason. She isn't like a standout wrestler. I think she's really good at wrestling. But she isn't somebody who you see her name on the sheet and you go, oh crap, like that's going to be a match I have to watch. So I think beyond being Takase's tag partner, she might not offer them a lot until she either gets pushed or really finds a groove for herself.
Do you think Wave would benefit in maybe pushing her up the card, or at least trying?
It's possible. I don't know. I mean, if you are trying to push somebody and then they're going and losing to, Deborah Kay on Diana undercards, it's kind of hard to keep that lore there. I think there is that
Diana.
Universal kayfabe.
That's a bummer. Yeah, I know the scene likes to kind of collaborate with each other, whether they want to or not, when it comes to booking. Especially the weird Diana rule. Have you ever read or heard about the Diana rule specifically?
I have not. That is interesting.
So this was something Kay brought to my attention, where he read it in various like kayfabe magazines over there in Japan, and it has something to do with if you're not being pushed in Diana, you are not allowed to be pushed in other promotions. And that's something from Kyoko Inoue, and that stems from how she treated a lot of her wrestlers in Neo, which I thought was super interesting. That's kind of why we never see Madeline like win anything in other promotions, despite her being like pretty featured. Like an ice. Yeah,
I wonder if it's like a respect for the older heads thing, because obviously like AJW used to take forever to really get behind people. They obviously had the 10-year cycle where they wouldn't push you until like 5 or 6 years in, or in some cases more. So maybe it's people respecting that Yoko has that kind of vision, and that's they buy into the universal kayfabe of, okay, well, if Yoko doesn't think you're ready, then there must be a reason. We'll go along with that. Maybe that's at play there, but it's definitely a bit of a doesn't work nowadays, especially because you aren't AJW. You don't have dozens of trainees a year to where if a few of them do fall off a grand anyway, I feel like the promotions now kind of have to take what they're given.
Yeah, I was thinking something very similarly. It's funny you just mentioned the AJW reference in just the episode that we recorded that's coming at the tail end of this podcast. I referenced all these wrestlers that it seems like they have a 3-year minimum before they get pushed. And that was the case with Manami Toyota. Hasegawa, we're now starting to see Takako Inoue get pushed, and they're all at like the same level of years in, which I thought was something I noticed. And I was like, okay, this is clearly like their plan to move people up and down accordingly once you get to this point in time. So there might be some validity to that even in the modern era with people like a Kyoko Inoue who comes from that era, even a Meiko Satomura who learned from people from that era. Okay, yeah, I do understand. I do agree with that as well.
Yeah, look at this, big brain.
Yeah. So on the Colors show, where they faced off against Wave, I'm just going to run down this card for you right quick, and then we can jump into Stardom, because this is kind of strange, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Yuki Miyazaki defeats Saki. Okay, all right. 8 minutes. Nagisa Nozaki defeats Hikari Shimizu. All right, Colors, you're down 0-2. I don't love that. Maybe they'll make for a big comeback. Rina Amakura technically defeats Yumi Oka after a time limit draw. And then they do like some random draw, and I think it's like who weighs less or something. And Rina weighs less than Yumi Oka. It's a very Wave thing. Like, okay, a 10-minute draw and then some whacking. Okay, fine. We'll keep it going. Yuko Sakurai technically defeats Sakura Hirota. Comedy ensues, of course. It's Hirota. I don't like her. She brings me much pain in my wrestling fandom. Don't mind me. But another 10-minute draw. And I think they did who has least experience wins the match. So Yuko Sakurai wins, in quotes. And then you have a main event where, because it's 2-2 now in the game, and it's Hirota and Oka against Rina Amakura and Yuko Sakurai, and they go to a 15-minute draw, and this time it's the team with the most experience wins. So Wave wins. I think that's kind of ridiculous. I wasn't in love with the 3 straight draws with random comedy. My personal opinion was, and what sucks with me in my fandom is Rina Amakura Oka, I thought was good. I even thought the main event with Hirota and Oka against Amikura and Sakurai was pretty good. I really liked the Nagisa Nozaki Hikari Shimizu match. Wasn't in love with Yuki Miyazaki Saki. I think Yuki Miyazaki's kind of washed up, personally. But she pinned Saki. It sure seems to me like Colors got the short end of the stick here on this show. And maybe it's not the best first impression if you want to try to build a faction up to be a more prominent figure in this promotion.
Yeah, having Saki and Shimizu lose when they're not only the tag team champions, but like the two more prominent and exciting members of the subgroup or promotion, whatever you want to call it, doesn't seem like the best idea. I mean, I understand Saki beating Shimizu, that kind of makes sense. She's the Wave champion. You know, you'd understand that.
Right.
I don't see why you couldn't have Saki at least go to a draw with Miyazaki, or even just beat her. You know, Miyazaki is fine. She'll be fine. She is a comedic, brawling tag wrestler. Fan base likes her. She can take a pinfall here. Like, I don't understand that decision. But I suppose when it's a show in front of 44 people, they maybe just were like, it's whatever.
Yeah, the 44 people part's a good point. But how do you get to that 94 people? I don't think doing what you did here might have those people start telling their friends, hey, come to this Wave show. I saw this awesome main event. Because I don't know, Japanese wrestling and even European wrestling, from what I see, when you put on like a good semi-main and main event that gets people talking, you kind of see and word of mouth kicks up in the area. I lived in Germany for a while. I don't know if you know that about me, but I lived there for quite a while outside Hanover and in Dortmund. And I went to some WXW shows back in the day at this point. And whenever there was a good, strong main event that got people talking, you could visibly see more people excited to go to the next show, and they would tell their friends and bring their friends. I think I can't imagine Japanese wrestling being all that different.
Yeah, no, I think that's how a lot of these smaller groups generally can grow is exciting matches. I don't know if it works exactly that way in Japan, because I know that's how, like, in Ireland we had OTT become a big thing. And a lot of that was genuinely people just going, oh yeah, like it's a great fun time. And then What Culture wrote about them doing Osprey and Ricochet, and that was it. Like they started selling out from there on. So it's something that, yeah, might be the key for these Japanese promotions. But then again, I mean, we've seen some of these smaller Joshi groups have amazing matches for years, and they didn't grow. So it might not be as easy, given the market is a lot more polluted. I mean, you can't say, oh, let's go to this wave show, there's going to be a cool match, when somebody might just be like, well, I don't have much money, I'd rather go see Naito. Like, I really like Naito.
Naito,
just do that.
He wears his t-shirts in wrestling matches most of the time. Screw that guy. Well, I guess Julia does as well these days. No. Let's go to the Stardom show instead. Yeah, unfortunately, I do tend to agree with that one as well. It's trying to rack this is what I like doing. I like racking my brain around ideas and circumstances that could possibly improve a promotion, or maybe it's just something that I don't agree with, and it'll, I guess, attribute to helping my fandom out, to very least. Because I do like this colors thing that's going on. I think there's some validity, Usaki being the head figure to it. Hikari Shimizu, I think, has a future kind of singles run in her. I hope she doesn't get put into that second role too much. I do worry about that. Rina Amakura, I think there's something there with her. I've seen a couple. She's got the singing gimmick, which I think is right up Wave's alley, unfortunately, with the comedy. But based on that one match with Yumioka, I think there's something there that they could really strike into, and putting Yuko Sakurai in a lot of main events. She's got appeal. She's got a tall figure, long black hair. She's very marketable, and looks ironically looks different than everybody else across the scene. I think there's something with this colors group that they could really strike something special with, and going to Wave. Maybe doing something with Ice Ribbon a little bit more. They are showing up on shows. I hope, and I do think that the more Colors does things like this, the more word will get around, and when they start showing up on cards, you could see an extra 50, 100 people on these things.
Fingers crossed. I mean, it's you'd hope some of the Actress fans might follow them, unless they spend all their money on going to Shell All shows or whatever it is Actress Girls does now. I
don't know what Actress Girls is doing. I can't figure it out.
I don't even think Actress Girls knows,
no.
To be fair.
We're a wrestling promotion, but we're not. And we're going to have not wrestling. Are you interested? I don't know what that means.
I don't know. It seems funny. That's the best part,
So we're looking at Nagisa Nozaki against Takase coming up. Does Takase win the title?
She should, but she probably won't, sadly.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It sure seems like they want...
downer sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I do think you're right, because it looks like they're setting up for a Nozaki-Saki match. After that. Because they gotta make up Takase winning the Catch the Wave and then getting injured like right after it.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate, because she had so much momentum, and now she's in Team YOLO or whatever it is to maybe see out her run in Wave. I don't know if they can keep using her after this or what the story is, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think she wins, which is a disappointment. I think had this match happened as was planned, she might have won. It's been a bit too long now.
Yeah, I think the boat sailed on a Takase Wave title run. Maybe she can win the Beyond the Sea title in a good match. Maybe.
I don't know.
As long as Hota's not there, she'll be there.
Beef, huh?
There's a lot of beef between Hota and like actress girls.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that's enough Wave. I'm hyped for Wave shows. I will continue covering it on this cast. I'm interested in following them and what they have to offer. And I think
that's good.
Yeah. Why not? The comedy won't do it for me, but that doesn't mean I can't watch like the top 2 matches.
Fair enough.
Stardom. What drops / song are you feeling? I got quite a few here.
You got Hanan's?
I don't have. I saw your tweet. I do not have Hanan's music.
Damn. I suppose give us Utami.
All right. I have her old one though. Is that acceptable?
It's even better.
Okay.
Even better.
And it's time to talk the Stardom, a very successful promotion going on right now. Perhaps you've heard of it.
It's in passing. I've come across it, yeah.
Yeah. Some would say it's competing for number 3 in Japan currently, right in line with Noah, right behind Dragongate and some New Japan promotion that has torturous houses or something or another. Anyways. Just to breeze through some of these house shows, what were some of your kind of standout matches and builds to the Nagoya Supreme Fight show?
Everything Mina Shirakawa and Tekla did was incredibly interesting. They know how to stand out from a crowd, to say the least.
I really enjoyed everything Micah did with the whole bear thing and becoming a bear. That was absurd. Really, it really put a stick in all these people that I keep hearing saying Stardom is only good matches and they don't have characters and there's no stories. And I believe on your podcast, you killed me when you described one thinks she's a bear, one is a bear, and what was the other one? Another is a boob spider or some shit. I'm like, there you go.
It's such a weird promotion. Like, people, like, I know it did for a little while get really serious, but then, like, as soon as Julia and Siri showed up in like clown hats, people should have realized this promotion is vibes until the end.
Yeah. So I really liked. I'm a huge Micah fan. I don't know if you know that about me, but Micah and Micah style, I'm all about her. There's something about her simplicity and just throwing bombs really does it for me. And now her like having a serial killer face while in a bear costume is really taking it over the edge.
Yeah, I mean it works. She showing a very different side of her game, to say the least.
Yeah, she's really taken that next level into mind games or learning her opponents. And unfortunately, it did not pay off at Supreme Fight. Very unfortunate there, but I think there was a strategy with Koguma and Hazuki that paid off. Well, I guess we'll get into that. I've really enjoyed... I think the biggest question was how was Mirai going straight into a main event, not having any experience in a match like over 20 minutes before in TJPW, where she came from. And her coming into Stardom was a huge question. How can she go into a main event of a major monthly pay-per-view that Stardom's putting on, and could she deliver? And when I saw the various tags that Mirai was in, and especially, oddly enough, the Mirai Unagi match, and then the final, I guess, nail in the coffin of confidence was the 30-minute time limit draw of Mirai and Julia taking on Micah and Shuri. That really cemented it home for me that this match is going to be good, and I'm not worried anymore. Did you get the same feeling?
To be honest, I feel like some of those last house shows, especially the main events, kind of passed me by in some way. I went on a big kick of old Joshi, and I don't know if this happens to you, but I end up watching so many like amazing matches that the current stuff just doesn't hit the same. You know, like when you've watched Misaki Ohara try to commit murder on at least 5 different people, normal wrestling just can never do it. So I was kind of like, I went into the match going, I believe Mirai, because Mirai murked Cosmic Angels on two shows in a row.
Okay, she did
I
do that.
believe in her. So I was confident she'd do it, but I wasn't sure how her and Siri would do, because those last couple of tags just kind of happened, and I was like, this isn't violence. What's happening here?
Well, the big takeaway I got from the 30-minute draw, as my cat runs around the apartment and runs into things. What are you doing? He hasn't done that in a while. He's like going from the bathroom, slipping over the rug, up on the TV, across the organ, onto the windowsill. That's his move.
Doing some real zoomies, huh?
Yeah, he's doing parkour in the apartment. I'm not approving of this. But Mirai has a bit of a judoka kind of ground mat based style, and she really wanted to do that in TJPW. She didn't really have a lot of dance partners for that. In comes Shuri, and I was like, okay, can she keep up with Shuri? Is Shuri gonna eat her alive like a Yumioka match against Haruka Umasaki? I'll keep bringing that up. And none of that happened. They just had mat wrestling game, and it was very solid and going. I'm like, okay, if they can do a match like this at Nagoya's Supreme Fight, I think they can pull something special off. Did I think it was going to go like 26 minutes? I did not. And yet they did, and the feedback I've seen is very positive behind Mirai and Shuri.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit underhyped for how amazing it was. Obviously with Mayu and Julia there, that one took all of the spoils, but I only watched Siri and Mirai today, and I loved it, like every second of it. I thought it was amazing.
You mentioned Tekla and Mina. We'll get into the spider fight later. Unfortunately, Tam had to miss the Nagoya Supreme Fight show due to poor health. Or no, what was the poor physical condition? That's their
condition.
That's their phrase. Momo and her new character. Give me your thoughts.
It's kind of weird in that I like it, but I also don't. I think it puts her further away from the world title spot than ever. Like, it's very much kind of mid-card heel antagonist kind of vibes, more than
interesting
main event level heel. And it's not that to say that she maybe can't rework it, but right now it's in the, oh yeah, she's meant to be annoying, and I meant to want to see Utami beat her up, rather than this could be a world champion.
Interesting you feel that way, because after I went on Scotty's podcast, 5-Star Joshi Podcast, episode coming out this Friday, go check that out, signing up on Fight Game Media. There's a plug for not my stuff. But after I went on there and spoke about Momo and the tag match we're going to talk about from the pay-per-view, I weirdly agree with you that it's not a world title shtick now. I think with a lot of the stories going on and what they're telling is it's an ingenious way to buy time for a future world title run. Because right now she can feud with Queen's Quest to her heart's content. And the furthest thing from our mind is a title run. And I think that's on purpose and by design. Same thing with Starlight Kid. Keep her out of, say, the Wonder title. She still has the high speed. And I think the tag titles are actually in their future, and that will keep them busy for possibly the entire year. And it's not until 23, maybe even the later half, that we're finally thinking, okay, they've done all they can. Now that we have this character and a long run of some kind established, and they're the thorn in people's sides, they've built up credibility to get into the main event, the two of them.
Interesting. I'm always curious on whether Stardom goes all in on the heel champion thing. That's why I'm always hesitant. Like, unless you're going to turn or kind of what DDM did and gradually move closer to being the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very unsure on if they go all in on that. Now, they might do, but I don't think that's ever been a Rossi play, at least in Stardom. He might have done it in Arjan. He did some wild shit in Arjan. But I don't know if he'd do it here.
Well, the thing about Rossy Ogawa these days in his booking is he's been really jumping around different decades with his booking strategies. And it's really hard to kind of put a finger on what he's feeling at any given time. What he's definitely doing is changing it up for once. I think the big thing was like the wrench in the boot. Don't really see a lot of that in Stardom. Whether that's his idea, I don't know. But the point is it's being done, and he's the booker man for now. So we'll just give him the credit. I've been making the joke Milano Collection is Dick Togo in his ear these days, hence why there's just so much Dragongate-esque things going on in Stardom since he's arrived. For all I know, there could be none of that, but I think there's smoke to the fire just to have some fun with that.
Oh, yeah.
One.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the dude is like kind of trainer, not head trainer, but seems to be at least a guest trainer, so he must have some sway with people there.
Yeah, Milano Togo is he's doing something. He's doing some work there in Stardom. At least for this point, it's I think it's a good thing. Especially with the work rate, even on the undercards. There's not a lot of promotions out there that I watch, even in just Japan, where from like the middle of a card up, everything is very solid, and I kind of want to just watch and sink my teeth into everything. I don't even get that in Dragongate, especially with the main event right now.
Yeah, I kind of like Dragongate's undercards generally whenever I've jumped in, but I know Stardom.
Don't be silly, Alex. You're all about Naruki Doi's hot boy house he's trying to build.
Listen, if I wanted hot boys, I think I'd watch DDT. They've got that on lockdown.
Whoa, are we going to have a Dragongate hot boys versus DDT hot boys conversation at some point?
I think so. Okay. I think so.
Right, we'll do that off air, but
okay.
Where were we? We got derailed. Screw it. Momo Coco. What is your opinion over what Momo Coco, as Mayu called her, is? What do you think her feeling in Stardom is right now?
I think she's still getting to grips with everything, especially in ring. She's somebody who is obviously used to working two quite different styles. Obviously, she was in Ice Ribbon a lot, doing the dojo shows and stuff, and the actress undercards. So it's a bit of a transition to go to Stardom. So I think she is still finding her footing. But I mean, she's already shown she has like the charisma and the personality to really succeed, and I think she has quite a high ceiling.
Yeah, I was on Just Joshi talking with JPQ before. Of course, I think it was like 5 days later after we recorded that Momo Kogo showed up in Stardom. I was like, damn it, because I saw with Ice Ribbon's roster completely depleted. Well, I guess we'll get to more Ice Ribbon in the mud in a second. But I was saying someone like a Momo Kogo could go into Ice Ribbon as a regular and be potentially in the main event because they need wrestlers like that, and she has the connection with Tsukasa and Tsukushi and could do that, and well, she chose Stardom because this is where the money's at. And I guess she wants to challenge herself, and that's a thing that's running in Stardom ever since I guess the last couple of years, especially when Bushiroad took over, is now there's a clear number one in the scene, and this is the place to be. Which is a crazy story to follow when everyone was kind of at the same level no more than like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a really quick. And to be fair, Stardom had the groundwork laid already. I mean, they were very hot with the TCS era and Kagetsu on top and the B world title run that we all try to forget. They were a hot promotion.
It like you guys.
It was fine, I guess. I think I overhate B just for the fun of it at this stage.
Oh, that's fair. Okay, totally understandable.
No, I mean Stardom was a hot promotion. Like I think without Bushiroad, they were on course to maybe be like the top promotion in terms of just like hype and drawing by a slim margin. Then the Bushiroad thing came along and they've blown everyone away.
Yeah, it's definitely understated that a company with strong financial stability is very important for a wrestling promotion to really take off and reach another level. I mean, you see it with Ice Ribbon. They seem to always hit this kind of ceiling. They kind of do it to themselves at the same time. But they have a small financial backer COVID, despite whatever the company wants to say, I think it's clear that it got hit like everything else in the world, and it affected them. And now that we've seen Ice Ribbon kind of fall out from where they were, Stardom has had the complete opposite effect, where they took advantage of, well, if these venues are cheap, let's try and do our best to fill them as much as possible to what we can do. And I think it's paid off dividends.
Yeah, and I think that's just part of it is Rossi's ambition.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like Stardom ran Cork, and not long after their first show, and a lot of people were like, that's pretty crazy. Like, nobody runs Cork in that fast. But he had that in mind. He was like, this is the day I'm running Cork in here, and I'm going to make it work. I think that's just Rossi's mindset of, I want to run this building, and I'm going to make it happen by whatever means necessary. So I do think Rossi, being an ambitious person, kind of helps with that. Obviously, Bushiroad maybe has good contacts for the buildings, and maybe they like book up in advance, and then they get maybe a discount because they book New Japan dates as well as Stardom dates at the same time. So there could be a lot of play there, is helping them run these bigger buildings. But obviously, what is the major difference right now between Stardom and everybody else? Because no other Joshi promotion is drawing 4 figures of people, no matter how hot they are. They just aren't running the venues to do so.
Yeah, even with a hot TJPW main event, I mean, we went maybe a little harsh, but we went into them just like getting 900 to their biggest show with obviously their hottest, I guess, rising star in Maki Ito, and they couldn't break 1,000. And maybe that's being a little overly harsh, but the number is still there to compare. Why couldn't they break 1,000? Was it simply COVID? I'm not so sure about that.
Well, TJPW is one of these where I'm always mystified by where their fan base lies. I mean, are they wrestling fans? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I you know what? I kind of feel the same way, because I saw their latest card coming out of the Max Heart tournament, a little TJPW thing, and I saw the card and I go, okay, so Yuki Arai, this is just an example, Yuki Arai versus Suzume, 2 people I do like and enjoy watching, but none of them have won anything. And that is a clear number 1 contender for a title match. So it's like, okay, these 2 undercarders who've never won anything and get pinned all the time is going to win 1 match and go up. I have a hard time getting excited about it, but if you're a fan of the characters, which I think a lot of TJPW fans are, then that's enough for them. Then I further ask the question, is that enough to grow? I don't know the answer to that. I lean no. And it's just time will tell with a lot of these things.
Yeah, especially with, you have no excuse with Yuki Arai there to not at least, pull ahead of everybody else, aside from Stardom, obviously. Because, I mean, she's really popular. She's really well known. And we saw with Yuzuki Aikawa how much that can help a promotion right from the off. So if they can't make it work with Yuki Arai, then who can they make it work with,
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I've been advocating for her to be pushed, not featured, for quite some time.
Dude, there's some fans of TJPW who are like, oh, well, like, I don't want her to get pushed because, Suzumi is here and she's working hard and she hasn't been pushed. And I'm like, yeah, but Suzumi is one person. Yuki Arai is another, and it's okay
I would argue
for people
push them
to
both.
be special.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I was like, push them both. Why not?
Yeah. But it's that like weird WWE thing, and obviously I hate to bring up WWE and a Joshi thing, but they're like, nobody is allowed to feel special, and it's very bad, as we saw with the Royal Rumble. So it's kind of like, it's okay to make Yuki Arai special and different from the other rookies. That will not hurt TJPW. You can push her, you can say she is special. That's all right,
Yeah, I very much advocate for that same frame of mind of thinking. Just going back and watching early Stardom and seeing Yuzupon, she is immensely special, to use your word.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she is the best thing in the promotion. She's not the best in-ring work. That's Natsuki Tayo. I mean, it's not close. And even when Leon comes in for an appearance or two, to lose the high-speed title, she's awesome. But Yuzupon is the clear star. and they treat her like that, and the attendance of Stardom, even in its early days, reflects how popular she was and was able to come off. So when I see these arguments against Yuki Arai, she's not good enough in the ring yet, I go, so what? It's like the Jade Cargill argument. I wish she was better in the ring. We all do. But you can't deny that she is unique, has a just... I mean, you talk about turning heads in airports for a dumb, like, Bully Ray phrase or what, or old. That's true. That is that is a thing I do agree with. Jade Cargill has that. Why not Yuki Arai?
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially on Jade Cargill, I think I would push her to the moon. That is always my thing, because wrestlers come and go, but stars, they're rare.
Stars are rare. I like that. They are rare.
Hmm?
Just like Unagi Sayaka, no one's more rare than her, the gatekeeper of Stardom. Do you think Unagi is going to challenge all of Prominence at once for a match?
I hope so.
That would
I really hope so.
Hysterical. And they all
hope they bring the hammer.
Chairs. Yeah, they bring the hammer, and she goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hold on, back up." That would be really funny. They all pull out like a weapon. Like a gang. she like turns around and Tam just puts her hands on her head again. That'd be great.
Tam might have to get the microwave. That's the only way.
Sorry, Eel, you're cooked. All right. Let's get on to Nagoya Supreme fight, shall we?
Yeah, well, let's go.
All right, let's do this. Momo Kogo defeats all of Oedo Tai in the Battle Royal. Any thoughts?
Oedo Tai are such geeks whenever Stardom wants them to be, and it's quite great. Like, they either lose all the time or they are like the most efficient gang ever. It's amazing.
They remind me of a mix between, when they're geeks, they're like the FMW women of the 90s, I'm discovering. They are the worst imaginable. Don't watch them, by the way. They're bad. And then, yeah, if they're super efficient, then it's like, oh, they're just AJW invaders coming in and pummeling you. It's kind of this weird dichotomy between the group.
Yeah, and it varies from like month to month. Like, it's not just like some of them are geeks and some of them are cool. It's either they are all geeks or they are all cool, and it varies.
Do you think they're doing a decent enough job kind of separating Momo and Starlight Kid from the group when they do things like that?
Yeah, so far they have. I feel like the Ruaka, Momo, and Starlight Kid trio are almost completely separate from the rest of them at some points. Like, Saki and Fukigen feel like their own mini group, and then obviously Rina is a child, so you can book her wherever you need to. Like, she's fine.
Side comment: did you see all of the Prominence Stardom shit talking on Twitter?
I've seen some of it, mostly around Waka and Akane Fujita, who talked about underwear for some reason.
Yeah, because they had something to do with the tights, and yeah, I know what you. Yeah, that was weird for sure. But there was one that really stood out to me where Unagi was being the gatekeeper, and Rina chimes in and goes, "Prominence needs to pay their dues. They're not in here long enough." I was like, yes.
It's amazing.
I love that.
Love Rina. She's so funny.
I think she has a lot more star power than she lets on.
Yeah, I think once she kind of finds her own identity, she will really showcase it. Like, we've seen it briefly jump out, but I think once she really settles into what she wants to be, we'll see it really come to the forefront.
Hanan defeats Lady C, retains the Future of Stardom title. Was this exactly what you expected?
It was better. They were doing Don Fry and Takayama shit in there. Nah. No, because there was like one chop and forearm exchange, and I was like, hell yeah, this is King's Road right here.
Was it Johnny Knoxville-esque against AJ Styles?
Listen, nobody can touch Johnny Knox. It's
yeah, the third biggest star in the Royal Rumble. Unbelievable. That company. Okay. Momo and Starlight Kid defeat Azumi and Utami Hayashishita. Only 9 minutes and 43 seconds. I was expecting more out of this, but I still got a very solid sprint, and I believe I gave it 1 out of 3-star recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was what it was for maybe a bit of a cool down match after the big angle, and second on the card. Like, it was just, you don't want to burn off all of the cool things these two can do, or well, these four. So you just give them a nice little sprint, throw in the heel shenanigans, keep the story going.
Starlight Kid wins off a Spanish fly from the top on Azumi. Azumi is the pin eater extraordinaire these days, as I think she should be for this current iteration in time.
I mean, she's fine. She's the main rival almost of Momo. Like, she will always have some kind of backing from the fans.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. We'll get to Prominence, don't you worry. I want to get through a few matches first, because boy, do I have thoughts. SWA World Women's title vacated. Now has a new champion. It is Tekla, as she defeats Mina in a 10-minute match. What'd you think?
I enjoyed a lot of what they did. There was a lot of really fun exchanges, and I think they play off each other really, really well. Not sure I would say it's like an amazing match, but it was definitely one that entertained me and meant like it stayed true to the story that they were telling. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, they did a lot of character work and trying a little mental game. That was all part of their story and lead up to the match. I thought they accomplished what they were going for. As we've seen, Mina may get a little over the top and overindulgent in her matches. I don't think they went that direction. Even Tekla does the same thing. And I was a little worried that they were going to do that, much like the Tam Mina match went into. I was pleasantly happy with what I got out of here. Also, 1 out of 3 recommendation. That'll be a kind of a theme. Okay, let's talk about Prominence. Got through 2. Prominence showed up. The bane of my existence ever since they split from Ice Ribbon. It was every indication to me was they were going to do their deathmatch thing, hardcore Choco Pro in a bar kind of situation, especially after that pre-show. They had this goofy little deal with Wrestle Universe, but not their main show in April in Shinkiba. And I figured they would show up in various other promotions every now and again to promote Prominence. That was my kind of understanding and expectation of what they were going to do, because that's what they were advertising as. Nowhere in my mind did they have a snowball's chance of showing up in Stardom. I didn't, because I figured they still want to work to some extent with Ice Ribbon on a once-in-a-blue-moon situation. They didn't want to burn that bridge. Well, then comes Risa Sarah on Twitter over the last few weeks, and she's burning some bridges. Whether you agree with her takes or not, and more information comes out. The point is, sure looks like Risa Sarah herself has burned some bridges, and we find out why. She's showing up with her entire group in Stardom to do an angle with essentially Donna Del Mundo, Julia specifically, because of her controversial joining from Ice Ribbon into Stardom, where there was like a court settlement and shit and a big mess. These things just don't happen in Joshi every day, especially to this extent. And with the bad blood, seemingly with Ogawa, Mr. Hatman, and Tsukasa Fujimoto and company, they are not on good terms. So here we are. We now live in a world where seemingly half the Ice Ribbon roster over the last 5 years is now in Stardom, doing an angle with one of Stardom's biggest stars, Julia. Alex. Yeah. What the fuck is going on?
I was just thinking there, none of the people involved in this angle are actually like Stardom wrestlers.
Oh, that's
all
design.
Of DDM are outsiders. That's really cool to me. Like, I think that's wild. But this is amazing. Like, this is insane. Like, kind of thought maybe Suzu would show up because she wanted the match with Julia. She's been saying that for a while. And I was like, hey, Stardom would jump at the chance to book Suzu. But here we have all of Prominence, and I think that's great, and it opens up a lot of opportunities. Whether they stick around long term or not, I don't know. I think it's more akin to the Seedling deal, where you show up, you do the big match. Stardom might have somebody go to a Prominence show and do something. I don't know. It's a shot in the arm for Stardom, and it's a big match for everybody involved that obviously got people talking and got them a lot of attention from the media. So really job done, and I mean it's going to be amazing. Like Suzu already wants to kill Julia, and that is the best thing ever.
Yeah, there's a lot of history between the two, Julia, and there's the whole Kohai Senpai type thing, at least in terms of age, maybe not experience.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of similar experience, weirdly enough. It's a little bit further. They're both under like 5 years, so whatever. The worry that I've seen, at least I was perusing around various message boards, because this was like huge news. This is ridiculous, especially with someone who was very upset with Providence. And I was on a lot of Japanese Twitter feeds that I follow, and I saw a very strange commonality, and it wasn't so much Prominence being there that was the worry. It was simply the worry of death matches. And that's my worry. That mirrors my thoughts, and I found that interesting because my whole problem with Prominence is this ambition for being deathmatch queens, and I've spoken to you about this and various Twitter threads. Is not a deathmatch fan. I don't think there's a market for that, especially with women wrestlers doing death matches in Japan. There's still definitely a cultural negativity behind that. I just don't think there's something there. Now, is there something for Prominence doing the not death matches, much like my positivity behind Colors? Absolutely. I absolutely think there's a lot of value there. And them coming into Stardom the way they have, as long as they really stay away from just doing random death matches for the sake of death matches, this is a really good angle. And leading up to the double Sumo Hall show gets a lot of buzz and people interested in it essentially comes across as interpromotional warfare, which Joshi has quite the history of that.
Especially Rossi.
Well, Rossi loved poaching talent, calling him out in media scrubs when Arceus started. It's like, I'm going to take you, and you. Here, they're calling him to get into where the money is, which I find that super interesting. And someone like Risa Serra, who the more information and speculation come out, things like puzzle pieces are coming together. I think you guys listening can also kind of put that together, just listening to us speculate on things, because I don't have any insider knowledge. I don't pretend to. It's all just me. What's great about even a group like Prominence coming in the way they have is, to me, my interpretation is, and I think I'm pretty on point with this personally, is the heat isn't Ice Ribbon coming in. If it was Ice Ribbon heat, it would be Julia and Tekla showing back up in Ice Ribbon. It would be Prominence showing back up in Ice Ribbon and feuding with Tsukasa and Sakushi and that crew. That would be the heat for them. With Prominence coming in and feuding with Julia, it is the concept of the death match and the hardcore, you're going to ruin my stardom. That's the heat. It's not the concept of Ice Ribbon themselves. What's your take on this interpretation I have?
Yeah, I don't even think the death match has come up from a Stardom aspect. Like, I know I read the post match interview from Prominence, and they mentioned in that, like, oh, we're gonna leave the death match stuff behind us here.
Yeah, so they claim. And I think it's kind of promo talk, personally.
Possibly. I don't even think Rossi would go for that, though, you know, and especially Bushiroad, I highly doubt would sign off on that, because they would probably have the same worries that we do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Death matches probably won't appeal to a public. I mean, Bushiroad is a publicly traded company. I don't know how Japan would deal with this, but imagine, you know, the business media picking up on the fact that Bushiroad is allowing women's death matches might not go over too well. So I don't think they, as a company, would allow it. I don't think Rossi himself really likes that sort of stuff. Like, the most you might get is a hardcore match with some hardcore elements, but I don't think we're getting nail boards and light tubes anytime soon.
So I was going to reference back to that terrible Julia Tora hardcore match that we saw last January with the cinder blocks and whatnot. And when I see Ice Ribbon hardcore matches, where they're not death matches, but it's a lot of plunder and wild loot, if to use a weird word. I think that is the worry that a lot of fans have rather than the light tubes. I agree. I don't think we're seeing light tubes to that extent, or nail boards, or the goofy fork spike balls that Suzu carries around in all of her. If they do that, I think they've gone off the deep end. I think that we could be looking at a heat angle where you get kind of like what we see with Oedo Tai, but in where Prominence has the advantage is they're already known now for this hardcore stuff. You ask like people who don't know Ice Ribbon, now there's this stigma that Ice Ribbon's like this hardcore deathmatch promotion because of what they left behind. So now they have that stigma behind them. So all it takes is something simple as Akane Fujita having a chain around her hand and she pulls someone out of the ring and hits them and throws them back in. That's heat. That's kind of Bullet Club-esque early 2010s, where that's enough for the crowd to just viscerally hate it, and that's a good kind of heat. Could you see something like that going on? And it leads... This was an idea I had in my head where it's all leaning towards a sumo hall match, where it's like hardcore war game style, if you will, but not the cage. It's just the whole faction against each other, and hardcore stuff where it's DDM against Prominence.
Yeah, I could see them doing that, and I think maybe subtly they have. Obviously, the Prominence had a hammer with them during this segment, and Risa Sera had a knife backstage, so that they have been, seen to be violent. Although I think the main focus of the story will be Julia and Suzu. I think that's the focus, and they maybe don't want to overshadow that, because this is Julia's story to me. This is one of those where Julia's eventually winning the red belt, and they're giving her this to boost her star power and give her something massive to do. So maybe you don't want to overshadow that. You don't want to overshadow the Julia versus Suzu aspect by leaning into these hooligans are deathmatch deviants kind of thing, which could end up taking center stage and maybe souring fans on the feud, because the last thing you want to do is turn people off the feud that is, Julia's big thing.
Yeah, for sure. I found it interesting that it was Suzu who specifically took the mic first and started speaking to Julia. It wasn't Risa Sera, the kind of figure of Ice Ribbon. Is this a Rossi move or a Julia idea? I think it's kind of a combination of both, that Suzu is to be the forefront.
I think that they're just playing into the fact that Suzu and Julia is the match they want, and there's probably a history there between them, whereas maybe Risa Sera and Julia would have had a lot less to do. Like Risa is probably the figurehead because she's obviously the experienced older woman involved, but like everybody knows Suzu is the star of the group, so I think maybe they were just playing into that more so.
Which is weird, because coming out of this last year of Ice Ribbon, Risa Sera is still the bigger star than Suzu Suzuki, respectively. But as soon as we step into Stardom, all of a sudden it feels like Suzu's the bigger star and Risa Sera is just kind of the figurehead, as you said. It's very interesting how this is all kind of playing out, because also when you look at how Suzu has been booked and presented outside of Ice Ribbon ever since, all she does is kind of lose, which is interesting, to say the least. This Prominence angle is super fresh. It's super interesting. It's completely like 180'd my mindset on a lot of this. I'm still worried about the death matches. I still think like focusing on that as a career is a mistake. It's like going to, I don't know, playing basketball in China. You might get paid, you might not. But why wouldn't you want to be in the NBA kind of situation? I guess we'll see in time. I'm really now fluctuating between my own fandom and how this is going to play out in Stardom, and that's extremely exciting to me now that we've made it this far.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, Joshi Wrestling doesn't serve up this kind of stuff often, so you really just have to grab onto it with two hands, because, I mean, chances are we're going to get Julia versus Suzu, which alone should excite anybody, no matter what you think of Prominence or what you think of Julia. The fact that this match is happening, well, probably happening, should really be the main takeaway, because that's my one anyway, is like, we're going to see Julia and Suzu, like this, two of the hottest Joshi stars of the past year plus, going at it is going to be amazing.
Pushed, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about someone that felt special in Ice Ribbon. That was Suzu Suzuki. She felt special and unique.
Mm-hmm.
And tough break on Ice Ribbon. They've lost a lot over the past 2 months. And they're in rebuild mode. I went on Just Joshi and really spoke a lot about the rebuild and where they are. I have confidence, at least from my perspective, that they're able to come back. It's going to take time. Of course it will. They do have a good pipeline of talent to bring up, but it's very hard to just simply replace one of your biggest stars of the last 5 years and then a pushed young 19-year-old to the extent of Suzu overnight. And not to mention Maya, who seems to be drifting further and further away from the promotion. That's another star that they've been pushing the last 5 years and made something. That's tough to come back from, and then your entire mid-card's gone. It's Ice Ribbon's in the mud, man. It's tough to say.
Yeah. It's pretty disappointing because as much as I may clown on them publicly, like Ice Ribbon has always delivered like really entertaining matches when the spotlight is on, and seeing them as they are now is kind of disappointing. I mean, I love Ram Kai Chao as much as the next person, but she was in the title match at Ribbon Mania, which is insane to me. I don't see how that happened or how that would happen if they weren't poached.
It was that afternoon. She was like losing to Yonayama on the second match of the card on an Oz Academy show or something.
Amazing. I love Oz Academy. It's so funny.
God. Yeah, that happened. But there is light at the end of the tunnel for Ice Ribbon, because there was a theory going around that we were also kind of behind, was now with the death matches and that group is out of Ice Ribbon, and the fans were really pushing back on it. And there's a precedence in Ice Ribbon of fans pushing back on the idea of hardcore and death matches kind of taking over. And the theory was they would the fans would return or slowly return. And now we're seeing we saw the first Cork and Hall. It hasn't aired yet, obviously, otherwise we'd be talking about it. The attendance was kind of a push compared to last year, which is a good sign. Especially when, like I said, they lost so much talent. You would think all signs point to a downward swing. And instead, they were able to maintain where they were last year with a lot less talent. I think that's a good sign to going forward for them.
To be honest, I think they will never, seriously have a sudden drop so long as somebody like Fujimoto is there. Like, I feel like a lot of the fan base now is people who are there to see her. So it's one of those where it's just one of those where I think that's maybe why they kept steady, is you still have Tsukasa, you still have Tsukushi, these people have been presented really well. So I don't know if like the attendance will ever tank so long as they're there. But I mean, if they go, then yeah, it's probably dead.
Yeah, to some extent at least. All right, enough about prominence. I think we've said our piece on it. Okay. Got us a Stardom title match. Stars, Hazuki Koguma, FWC, defeats DDM, Maika and Himika. 13.5 minutes. Alex, I love this match. It's DDM. This was the Himika showcase, which we don't get a lot of. I really enjoyed this.
Hey, that's interesting. I thought it ended as it was really getting me into the swing. Because it ended kind of out of nowhere to me, like
sure
the 13-minute mark. So I was really just kind of starting to really get into it when it ended. So I didn't come away liking it as much, but I did think it was fun.
I didn't go full 3 stars. I went 2 out of 3, and that had, of course, to do with the finish, because it did come out of nowhere. I'm of that same mind. How they went about it. See, I usually viscerally hate the no-sell roll-up finish of a big move. Like, that really turns me off matches. However, this wasn't like Himika's finisher. Like, if she hit her big concussion bomb and then Koguma just gets up and small packages her, I got a problem with that. This was a lariat in which Koguma was straight up decapitated, and everyone in Ice Ribbon seems to want to land on their neck these days. We'll get to Mayu, I guess, in a second. But the story to me that came across was Micah is the big powerhouse. She's figured him out. By the way, the bear thing at the beginning cracked me up. She's bouncing around the ring. Anyways, getting off topic there. But Himeka, it's been a long time since I've seen this kind of showcase out of her, especially in a tag match. She's usually kind of second fiddle to Micah in these with how Maihime operate. And you could probably point to a 5-star match or two, especially the Momo one, as a good performance as well. I think this topped that in terms of what she was able to bring in and out of the ring and doing the tandem moves with Micah when necessary, and just kind of how she was able to bounce off Hazuki and especially Koguma really impressed me. I really enjoyed what I saw out of here.
I mean, honestly, I can understand that Himeka is ready for whatever Stardom is going to give her. She's been fantastic ever since kind of coming back from that injury she had last year. Mm-hmm. It was just leading into the GP, I think. Like, she really freshened up and has been amazing since then. So I'm not surprised she showed out here. And I think if she gets pushed this year, which I think she might get a small one, then she's going to kill it.
It would be cool to see her mix it up with Saitani for a Wonder of Stardom title match, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I wanted her in Suri for that briefcase last year.
But
then
we
they
never
didn't
did
give it
get
to
that.
us. Very sad. Maybe she'll do a world title match, because that's... No, I've been pushing for Himeka to challenge for the world title, mostly because I want Himeka and Utami again. I've been pushing that agenda for a while, but they didn't give me that, sadly.
What is your take on this potential DDM split? I don't think it's going to happen now with the prominence angle, but they definitely could do it later. Do you think a potential DDM split could contribute to Himeka kind of going for Shuri? Because she has like cut promos and saying things like maybe your enemies are closer than you think, or whatever she said.
Yeah. I feel like she might stay with Suri's side. I don't think she really has ever formed a kind of good relationship with Julia. So I feel like it would be Julia, Tekla, and Mirai splitting from the others, and then maybe Mai Sakurai jumps with them, because Julia seems to really like Mai Sakurai for some reason. So you'd have Himepoi and Suri as the main one, and then Julia's group of whack jobs over there doing whatever,
Sure thing. Okay. Saya Kamitani retains the Wonder title against Unagi with a sword. 1847 this went. What did you think? Did it deliver? At least to what your expectations were.
It kind of missed it, because they were really good in all of the tag matches leading up to this. I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff they did, but then it just didn't really mesh all that well for the first part of the match. I didn't think so. Like, there was a few bits where I was kind of like, okay, they're a bit off here. And then once it got going, it was pretty cool. But I don't know, I just couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't really working as well together as they could have been.
Yeah, there was something about that first 7 minutes where the feeling out period or the warm-up period, whatever you want to call it, something was definitely wrong, or at least not coming in the out of the ring to what we were seeing. Something was off. And I felt the same way. Scotty had the exact same opinion, so we're all kind of on the same page with that. However, the second half of this match, I thought, brought it all together. I am a big fan of Unagi. I enjoy her being featured the way she is. She's a wacky character. I think coming out of this, it was very clear that a Wonder title run is in her future by the year's end. That's really the feeling I got coming out of this match.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought for a while that Unagi would be the one to beat whoever was the next champion, and so that's Saya now. So I think Unagi is the one to dethrone Saya whenever that eventually happens.
Kind of goes a lot with these Wonder title stories lately, where the person that is kind of destined, put that in quotes, to win it loses a time or two before getting there. Mm-hmm. And the way Unagi was in Saya's face post-match, and Saya's kind of dripping the belt over her, really foreshadowed a lot there for me. And if they can deliver a better match, and I think they got a better match in them for sure.
Mhm.
And there's something about Unagi and how she starts and molding with Saya's kind of lucha libre she's trying to throw in there more these days. Saya needs to work on that. I don't think she did. Thing is, I don't think either of them did anything particularly wrong. It just didn't mesh well.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if they just don't have chemistry, which sometimes happens. Then you see them in these tag matches and they work so well together. So maybe they just need to figure out what to keep and what to cut off going forward, because there's a good match in there. They just need to workshop it and bring it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Cage Match and Grapple, and it's only slightly lower than the Shuri Mirai match, and I'm on record kind of saying that I more gravitate to the style they had in this match because I like watching lucha libre. I like watching guys fly in and out of the ring. Saitani definitely fits that role for me pretty well.
Mhm.
And Unagi's such a whack job in the ring where she just wants to spam finishers of people that she's seen like wrestle once. She's hitting Blade Runners, whacked out last of the Dragons. I'm pretty sure she hits Jeff Jarrett's stroke these days. Like, I don't know what to make of this woman, but she's great. I love watching her.
Yeah, Nagi's pretty great. Once she really puts it all together, she's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. I did think her tan was on point, but then I saw Julia come out, and I'm like, whoa, okay.
Can't beat Julia. Can't beat the Italians.
They've been living under a tanning bed. So, World of Stardom title number 1 contender match. Tam is out of the match, so really, as soon as that was announced, I had it in my head, there's only one finish to this match, and I got that. I was wondering how they were going to pull it off, because there was a controversial match. There seems to be an annual one. Mayu Tam last year, Julia Shuri the year before that. How are they going to get to a 30-minute draw and convince us that they had a war that we want to see more of it in this case, the title match at the Sumo Hall? Alex, did this match do that for you?
So far, I'm in the minority of people that didn't really like this match. Yeah. This happens a lot with me with Julia. When she goes too long, she just completely loses me for these finishing stretches. Because I mean, I've seen Mayu go long, and I really like Mayu going long. But Julia just never seems to be able to do it, despite the fact that I love Julia more often than not. But I don't know, like something about this where first half was really good. They were really working hard. They were doing a lot of stuff. Then they just started doing things and never gave anything a minute to really settle in. I think that's where these matches tend to lose me with Julia, because she's just like, okay, we're going to just do stuff now, and we're not going to let any of it sink in, just on to the next thing. And that's kind of when she loses me, more often than not, which is sad, because I really like Julia, and I do really want to enjoy every Mayu match I can, but this one just kind of, once it lost me, that was it. I couldn't get back into it.
That's a real shame, because it is getting just astronomically praised reviews. It's got a 9.41 on Cage Match, for example. It's got like a 4.3 on Grapple last time I checked. It could be higher, could be lower. This match just blew me away. I do know what you mean. Sometimes when you watch, like I just watched a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago, WXW Back to the Roots, and in my review for that, I describe a lot of those matches as they ran out of ideas. And with Julia, it sure comes across that she runs out of ideas in longer matches. She always goes back to the abdominal stretch a lot. She does that. She pauses a match and goes into various stages of character facial expressions that may be overly animated. I'll put it that way. And then she'll start striking with forearms. What she needs is a dance partner like Tam, who can put the notes in between the music to bring that together. For me in this match, Mayu absolutely did that, because I was so focused on her, so it had less to do with Julia, but it had everything to do with Mayu being a fucking crazy person in this match. she was
And-
determined to make this look like a shoot to make me think she was actually hurt, which in terms makes her like the perfect pro wrestler.
I mean, yeah,
For all I
that's
know, she
my-
could have purposely hurt herself to fool me.
I wouldn't put it past her.
Like, there's a moment where she does the running front drop kick to the corner, like Bryan Danielson style, and she just totally necks herself, just like he would. And she, from that point on, is rubber-legged. She's like going to the wrong corner when Julia's to the outside. The ref's like, hey, she's over there, and she's smiling. I knew that. She's going to the time's just about to expire. She's going to the top. She's not quite there. She does a mid-rope moonsault. Then she goes to the top, and she's struggling. It's like the most elite selling. Could be real. I don't know. I don't care. I'm having a great time watching it. And she could fall forward sideways at any moment, and then she pulls off the moonsault, and of course that busts Julia open on the chin, which is wild. And they go to a draw, and I'm like, what? I was blown away by Mayu Iwatani in this match. And Julia has to hold her end of the bargain, and I guess that's why I didn't mind Julia's, shortcomings in a lot of these types of matches more than I usually would. But I guess in your case, it kind of couldn't draw you back in, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing because I remember, I was watching this live and everybody was like, "That was a match of the year," and I was just like, "I didn't like it. Sorry."
It's too bad.
Yeah.
What is your current women's match of the year? Just top of your head.
I think it might be Siri and Mirai, actually.
Wow.
So I don't
I'm really
think
looking
I've
forward to
seen
hearing your
any
thoughts
better.
there. Okay.
Yeah.
If it's not clear, I gave this an easy 3 out of 3. I absolutely recommend it. I spoke on Scotty's cast. I won't spoil my exact thoughts over there, but you can definitely assume how high I am on this. I really, really loved Mayu Julia, and I look forward to the two challenging for the title. I think it was the right decision. As soon as they went 30-minute draw, I'm like, okay, that's what I figured they'd do. And then Hatman gets on the mic and he goes, "You both get the title match." I'm like, okay, now we got something here. I'm into it. I think it's Julia night 1, which kind of tells me that the DDM prominence thing is going to be night 2, and Mayu gets night 2. And there's something to be said here, because Shuri and Julia went to that time limit draw a couple years ago, which I liked really well. And I remember you weren't very high on it. You weren't the only one. And then there's the case when Mayu had the title and Shuri lost. So there's a couple good simple stories there already told. Plus the fact Mayu's gone now to 2 straight big match time limit draws, one against Tam and now one against Julia. I like kind of the sports centric storytelling going on here in Stardom, just to keep it simple.
Oh, it's interesting actually. Mayu already put people away lately, because I know she had the draw with Tam as well in early last year. That was only 15 minutes, but she also couldn't put Tam away there.
Yeah, unless it's like all the Oedo Tai nerds, she can't beat anybody. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to sidetrack, but I remember when she beat Oedo Tai, I put Mayu Iwatani as John Cena as the title for Stardom Quest that week. It got a lot of viewers, so people were into the idea of Mayu as John Cena. So
I love it, and I totally see it as well. She needs to put those punks away. Shuri defeats Mirai, all caps, the future World of Stardom title, 26 minutes. I clocked it in at 26:42, despite what Cage Match says, those fools. I like this. It's not my favorite match on the card. It went a little slow for my taste. I thought it was very strong mat work. It's just not my style. So that's kind of my biggest critique of it, is it just wasn't for me to that extent. But if I was into like hard mat grappling, like Yamato in Dragongate, which I kind of am to an extent, but he does wear on me. This kind of wore on me, especially this late into the show, coming off of the 30-minute match that made me like need to take a Red Bull, otherwise my heart was going to stop. I was so excited. Shuri and Mirai brought it to a level I didn't think, like, even though I spoke earlier about the prelude tags and everything convincing me, I think this then exceeded where I was already expecting. So I got to give a credit to Shuri, especially with keeping a match together, because I think Mirai does still have a lot of room to grow, but that speaks volumes to her ceiling that's still way up that she hasn't reached yet. I really liked what I saw here.
Yeah, and I'm also not somebody who's generally into grappling, but I thought these two were really interesting with what they did, and they made sure that it wasn't just your standard, we're filling time grappling. It felt like there was a lot more to it. There was a lot more just like fluidity, there was a lot more movement, there was a lot more intent behind it. And obviously, like, there was a lot of the Siri being like, well, I'm just better. And they graduated from the really good technical stuff to, Siri kind of beating on Mirai, laying in a lot of really hard kicks. And then as the match went on, Mirai like grew into it and was really, putting Siri on the back foot. And then when push came to shove, Siri was just like, okay, that's it, we're done here. Like, I'm the world champion, I'm putting you away. And I just thought that the dynamic between them was played out really well, and how Siri was very merciless. When the going got tough, she put the challenger away, but she gave Mirai so much room to showcase herself and showcase her offense, and she has a lot of really cool looking moves that look like they might break somebody's neck someday. It's just like, it was one of those where Siri put in a masterclass, and Siri has done that a lot over the last year. I look back at that first Utami Siri match, and I give almost like 80% of the credit on that one to Siri. Like, she is just amazing, and this was another one where she put in a masterful performance, and Mirai more than lived up to the occasion with her end of the bargain. Could Mirai put on this match with anybody else? I don't know, but lucky for her, she was in there with Siri, who is one of the best going.
I don't think Mirai could have put on exactly this kind of match with anybody else, because Shuri's the only one with this kind of grappling game and this high level of grappling game, and Mirai does have a lot of that similar skill. So this was, in a way, the perfect opponent to introduce Stardom fans and future fans. This is who Mirai is, and this is what you can expect of her at a high level. And I was shocked this went 26 minutes, because I went in thinking they were going to go maybe like 18. They weren't going to go all the whole way. And I was impressed with how they were able to space out Mirai's kind of limited offense at this point in time, where she's kind of shoulder blocks and lariats and running the ropes fast like Shingo style. And that's okay. If you can make it work, make it work. And I think I would have really liked to see a lot more Shuri strikes, like kicks and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
They did do a little bit of that. I think they could have done a little bit more if we're getting nitpicky with that section. But what really kind of roped me into the match later on was when they were trading forearm strikes, but Mirai, instead of just doing forearms or like gut punches or anything like that, she was leaning her entire shoulder into Shuri, kind of like hip checking her in a weird way, but with her shoulder. I thought that was super interesting. She was always using that like forward elbow.
And Siri was booting her, wasn't she? She was doing the big boots, which are always appreciated.
The face wash.
Yeah, I love those.
Yeah, so if Mirai can bring unique stuff like that to her, that really brings a new element to someone else on the roster, because most of this roster now is a hodgepodge of the entire scene over the last few years. You have Ice Ribbon, you have TJPW, Actress Girls, you got Shuri from UFC and Smash of all places. Well, no, I mean, she's Karate Girl from Hustle. That's where everyone knows her as. Let's be real. Her and Hard Gay. Let's go.
Hustle was so weird. How did that even exist? Like, what? Who let that happen?
I reviewed a few of those shows for the Patreon when I was doing a goofy little game, and I'd never seen Hustle before. I've only heard the legends, heard the rumors, heard the things, and I watched like Hard Gay fight an egg, and then a tarantula lady explode from the stage out of another egg, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but it's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Wasn't that the one with they had the really racist names for like Aja Kong and Awesome Kong, or am I thinking of a different one? They were like really odd names for Aja Kong.
Oh, it was, yeah, hold on. She was going to a good old cage match here because I know it's there. I can't remember right now. She was just Erica. That's right.
All right, that's not as bad.
No. I remember like what's his former WWF wrestler? I think it was Mark Jindrak. He came in as like Sodom, and his partner was Gamora.
Oh my god!
So absurd stuff. Yeah. So back to Shuri Mirai. I think if you're into a little bit more of the mat grapple game, simple strikes, you are gonna love this match. I think that match is like perfect for you. And even for someone who's not into it, I was still into it to an extent and loving the main event. Big surprise, and credit to Stardom and Hatman, as I like calling him, on this entire card, where you had kind of your three big TJPW acquisitions, all in major title matches on this card that have never really had that opportunity prior to them. Unagi, I know, had a white belt match prior, but all three of them had this. Actress girls were kind of featured all across the card. You had Ice Ribbon as well, with Tekla and Julia getting big title matches and essentially winning on the card. On the same show, Prominence debuted. There's a lot of like subtle things here that really put over that Stardom's the place to be in a weird way.
Yeah, it's basically an all-star game at this point. Like it's such an amalgamation of different things, and they take really good wrestlers from almost anywhere, and if they aren't good wrestlers, then they're people with potential, and you can see that come out of them throughout their time in Stardom. And Rossi, fair play to him. You know, people complain about the number of belts a lot, but I mean, these pay-per-views are loaded with meaningful matches. Everybody gets a chance to do something meaningful, and that's really one of the important things about Stardom that makes me really enjoy it. It's not just, okay, we're going to have two big matches and everybody else is just doing tags. You get 5 or 6 title matches, and then you get a story heavy match, and then you have some of the young wrestlers represented in the opener. There's so much going on, so many different backgrounds represented, and so many different styles colliding, that it's just a fascinating promotion to watch right now.
Yeah, and it makes watching the house shows more exciting and serve a purpose when you have something like the Trios titles or the SWA, or as we're going to see here in the next, I think it's tomorrow, the high-speed belts on the line, just main eventing a Korakuen, because they can do that. And I love how you said it keeps people busy with something important to do rather than random tags, essentially, throughout the card. Because that's one of my complaints over the entire scene is, what are these people doing on this show if it's just a random trios match? Is there a purpose to it? And you rarely ever see there be any purpose to a lot of those things. Well, in Stardom, one of the things that drives me as a fan is everything seems to serve some sort of purpose, and people going up and down the card like an elevator or an escalator, and you can visually see that in what they're doing constantly.
Yeah, and there's always some storyline added to things as well. Like, even the most meaningless feud will eventually get something. Just because, you know, the pre-match promos are there, and Twitter is there, and the wrestlers are always working. So there's always something worked in to make almost every match have some semblance of a story to sink your teeth into.
February, what is your hope to see as we build towards Sumo Hall?
I want to get that presser out of the way where they reveal the mystery woman.
Tell me about it.
I need to know if it's the desperation of Tony Storm or the high highs of Kairi. You know, and I need to know now.
Who are you preferencing? Obviously, Kairi.
Yeah, I can't really see anybody else that would be as cool as Kairi, unless they, you know, have poached somebody amazing. But I feel like that wouldn't go down well.
Yeah, I don't see Arisa Nakajima walking through Hatman's door. Although
Sadly.
that would blow my mind. Yeah, I'm not getting that feeling. In my very pessimistic head, I'm not the biggest Nanai Takahashi fan, but with her weird departure from Seedling and her history with Stardom and them kind of looking like they're mending some sort of fence last year, I could weirdly see her coming back for some sort of, I can't say retirement tour because Joshi's never seemed to, they either retire in like 2 years or they never retire.
Yeah. They do the Minami Toyota strat and just go until they're like broken, basically.
Oh, yeah, Dynamite Kansai is right there with her in some weird way.
Poor Kansai.
Yeah, still was okay. Weird question. Was Dynamite Kansai like a heavy chain smoker?
I hope so.
She really struck me as that.
You got that. It gives big biker energy, like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know that seemed random, but there's a purpose to that when we're watching like a lot of Dynamite Kansai in 2010s. She's kicking around and she looks like she's hurting. But she also looks like she's like, I gotta get this match over with and smoke a camel pack or something.
Yeah. To be fair, wasn't she like diagnosed with an illness or something? I wouldn't be surprised.
I think she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer or something. She beat it, I believe. Yeah, she beat it.
That's good. A lot of the LLPW and JWP people kind of succumb to that stuff, sadly. But Dynamite is with us.
All right, that does it for Stardom. Alex, thank you so much for joining. You're the longest section of the podcast here. This was the whole chunk. I did kind of the rest more or less solo. I'm very happy that you were able to make it here today.
I mean, thanks for asking me on. I'm always amazed that people care enough to ask me what I think about wrestling, so thanks.
Well, I love the job you do over at Stardom Quest. You can also listen to my favorite podcast I like listening to you guys is Victory Through Guts, All Japan Women. You do it on a monthly basis. Keep up the good work over there, even if I don't agree with anything Divlin has to say generally.
He's quite the rebel, mental-wise. It's interesting.
Is he coming back to listen to more of your amazing podcast reviews?
Yeah, we've got a few spicy ones this week. So
I'm excited. it's somehow become my favorite like part of the. It just kind of came out of nowhere. How'd that come to be?
Well, we started to get them because it took us forever to get on Apple Podcasts because I don't have an Apple product. And like because I didn't have an Apple product, they were like, "Why do you want this ID? You can't have this ID." So it was a whole thing. And then once we got on that, we started to get them, and the first ones just absolutely dragged Dylan. And he was like, "You have to read these on air; it will be so funny." So I do credit Dylan with that.
Okay, that's his idea. It was his idea to get put through the mud like ice ribbon. It goes full circle. Yes, everyone go check out Victory Through. Is Victory Through Guts also on Apple now?
I hope so. I think so.
Okay, I might have to look into that for you and leave a hot, spicy review.
Hell yeah.
Victory Through Guts, all your favorite podcasting outlets, unless it's not. Same thing with Stardom Quest. Go check out Last Word on Sports. Does a lot of Joshi work over there. My favorite is your top 5 Joshi matches of the month. I always like that, even though I don't usually agree with them. It seems to happen a lot between us.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's we want different things. I just want people to copy like 2015 Misaki Ohata, and you seem to want something a bit more from your wrestling, which is fine.
It's fine, but I do love like Ayumi Kurihara, Misaki Owada. I am in my 2010s journey over on the Patreon, and if you don't want to sign up, we do have a wild delay on the episodes over at Big Egg Joshi Podcast, where you don't even have to pay for it. It's just to get the word out of a scene that's not covered, like, at all. Mm-hmm. In the grand scheme of things, especially in the early 2010s. You'll get to hear me constantly praise the likes of Chikayo Nagashima, Leon, who's like seemingly breaking out in 2011, Misaki Owada, Kurihara, among names, and of course Io Shirai. Some people have heard of her. But yeah, Alex, thanks again for joining. Happy to have you on. Everyone go check out his podcast. We'll see you next time. And I'm back, just me again, to kind of finish up the AEW and New Japan section before we get into the retro, which Kay did record with me. We did collaborate on that part of the podcast. Hope you enjoyed earlier in the podcast where I went through a lot of just random matches worth recommending and dunking on some of the shitty wrestling out there. And I hope you enjoyed what Alex had to say as we covered a bunch of Wave and Stardom, to say the least. So, with that said, AEW, from January 15th through the rest of the month, I just have some some fun topics. And they mostly include kind of how I feel about the show right now. So, I think I'm finding the TV format less exciting these days. And my theory and observation is that the TV format has definitely changed over the last, I would say, 4 months or so. And could this have something to do with all these WWE lifers types coming in, aka Big Show, Mark Henry, Christian Cage, these guys? These guys that grew and learned the industry in the Fed and how to put on a TV show that way. Because what we're getting a lot of the times on Dynamite these days, the way they're working is more of this, it feels like to me, a more Fed television format. And of course, as I say that, when I watched Rampage this past week, that was freaking great. Moxley defeats Bowens, which was solid. Jade Cargill defeated Julia Hart in quick fashion. Private Party and the Jurassic Express had a 3 out of 3 recommended tag title match. Like, that's all good stuff. That's what I want to see more out of Dynamite. Because Dynamite, what they're doing is they're having a lot of prelim guys constantly fighting against these main eventers. And it just seems like they're spinning their wheels a lot of these matches despite, and I say that despite kind of Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson having an excellent match on TV. Cody Rhodes, I think, is doing some pretty good work. Yeah, he's getting a little cute with the whole fourth wall. Maybe it's fifth wall with Cody. Tight promos and whatnot, but the work, like a lot of the work in these main events are good. I'm talking about like this middle of the show, because they always start hot and try to end hot. It's the middle of the show that I'm really struggling with, because when you look at the substance in the middle of these shows, it's a lot of slower promos, it's a lot of prelim guys coming in. The top of the hour doesn't seem as hot as it usually does. It feels like we're definitely missing the presence of Kenny Omega. We certainly missed the presence of Moxley, but he's back now. But I'd really like to see more of, I guess, just build, like I keep saying, heat some of these guys up over time. Because the women are getting better, at least in ring, so it's creating better matches. But it's so hard, I guess, for AEW and their format to heat people up the way they should. And now more than ever, it's definitely feeling that way. It's just like, oh, cool, this could be a cool match, and then it goes like 8 minutes. And you're like, oh, okay. And I miss those 12 to 13-minute match times that we used to get with short, condensed promos that you can really sink your teeth into, and they're not rambling on like Britt Baker talking about Baker Mayfield all the time. I don't know what the purpose is any of that is, other than get her on TV. If you want to get her on TV, have Thunder Rosa come out and challenge her, and then from behind, someone doesn't attack her. We don't have to do this every time, but just Mercedes Martinez comes up and gets in her face about everything, and they could build that up. I want to see those kinds of feuds built up on TV a little bit more. I did like a lot of I'm loving what Adam Cole's doing right now. I liked his Britt Baker mixed tag match. I'm definitely into these mixed tags. going to a lot of Beyond Wrestling shows probably helps. The ladder match with Cody and Sammy, that's an easy 3 out of 3 stars. I didn't hesitate with that one. And when I was thinking about where that ladder match lies on my all-time favorite ladder matches, that match is definitely up there. And for those that want to know kind of my baseline, yeah, it's like Young Bucks, Lucha Bros type stuff, but from a singles match perspective, it's kind of a short list. And when I talk about short list, I'm talking like Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho at the Royal Rumble. I think that was 01. Like, that's one of my favorite ladder matches of all time. Not Scott Hall, HBK. Like, get that nonsense out of here. That's old news. Like, I look, and even the TLC is just plunder, and it's awesome, but those are multi-men. It's like a singles person ladder match just seems like such a challenge to put something excellent on. And Cody and Sammy Guevara absolutely deliver here. Hey, go figure. Cody puts over another guy yet again. He's got to win sometime. The Lights Out match I was really excited for. Cole Cassidy, I think the feud has been built up pretty well. The debut of Danhausen in the middle of it, I absolutely hated. Why do you have this comedy nerd coming out in a Lights Out match? That really bothered me. The signing of Danhausen probably wouldn't have bothered me as much if all of these other interesting free agents weren't out there that you could get, and you're debuting a comedy act in a main event of a serious feud. I get that Orange Cassidy's in it, but he went into this with chains and ready to fight, and he was serious. But then you come out and Danhausen, he stares at him and then walks away, and everyone looks at him weird. I don't know. I know he's like one of the top sellers on Pro Wrestling Tees. I just don't know what he's going to be in this company. Could he be a prelim guy and have some laughs backstage? Sure. But when you start putting these guys on TV like that, and the difference between him and Orange Cassidy is Cassidy can actually work in the ring, what you start to risk doing is what DDT runs into, where the undercard is solely your comedy, and that gives people a reason to not care as much, despite people that jump in. It's one of the easiest things to get a hold of. So it's a tricky give and take situation there. So I really hope that's not the direction they go with Danhausen. I hope it's just like a dark act that they can warm up the crowd with. That'd be something I would be okay with. And Jade Cargill, as hard as I was on her prior with the in-ring work not being there, as a failure in AEW to train, what we wanted to see out of Cargill is more of the Goldberg treatment, where it's short, explosive matches that she can look good on and get better trained in the in-between. And we're 2 weeks in now, open challenge style, which is good. You can give her some easy opponents to beat, like Anna Jay, like Julia Hart, and these are delivering way more than Ruby Soho ever did. I thought that Ruby Soho match was garbage, because Ruby Soho just can't carry a match. That's not her style. She can be carried and do it well, but she can't do it her way. So Cargill's in there just throwing Yakuza kicks, doing Scott Steiner push-ups in the ring. Like, she's working on a mixture of making her moves that she can do look better and doing a lot of Rick and Scott Steiner mannerisms to fill in between space instead of looking lost and trying to find her feet. So these two matches specifically, Jay and Julia Hart, were absolute winners to me. I even went 1 out of 3 stars on Julia Hart, because Julia Hart really gave her all she came with a purpose in herself, and she has her own story with the Malachi Black thing. And hey, we got the House of Black. Brody King showed up. I'm into that tag team a lot. Not Brody King as an individual, but there with Malachi Black, I am definitely into it. Maybe ease up on the lore a little bit, but they got something going on with the Black Mist kind of spreading and infecting people kind of deal. It's goofy, but it's wrestling. It's definitely like a Memphis territory thing. What am I missing? Yeah, same complaints on Dark. Sheeta's gone back to Japan. Riho has a broken collarbone. Asuka and Io didn't show up in the Rumble. Our Joshis are in a lot of despair, guys. from the Western side. The move from TBS seems to be working well. They look like they're doing a little less blood than usual because the Big Bang Theory has a large women audience. That's carrying over into the at least first part of the show. I'd put some hot dudes from AEW in that opening match every now and again now. Like, Adam Cole works. I think he's a pretty handsome guy. Orange Cassidy's got a rugged, good look to him. Maybe you can even throw on a short Jade Cargill thing to really get the crowd popping in that first few minutes. I think that'd be a cool, interesting idea. Like, let's change up the formula a little bit. Let's get some hot dudes and some strong women. And I think that could be a winner for TBS. Just a thought for process there. I think I'll do it for AEW. Pretty short and sweet on that end. Now, I'm going to play WXW. And get in the... You know what? I'll do WXW last. I will do New Japan. So... I realize I kind of messed up my own order, but I gotta hit this music. Here we go. Okay, so New Japan, we are gearing up for February. They canceled a bunch of shows to COVID and whatnot. But in the meantime, New Japan Strong is still running. And I did an entire January catch-up, and I got some recommendations. Kingston defeats Gabriel Kidd. This is a 3 out of 3 strong style match, harking back to like All Japan Pro Wrestling in the 90s that we watch. Jonah, it's a must-watch content. Anyone who says I listened, they're absolutely right. Jonah defeats Finley. I gave this 1 out of 3. I am loving all caps Jonah in New Japan. I watched his match with Josh Alexander in Impact. I had Hard to Kill, and I really just did not feel that match because Jonah feels like a coming into the territory and leaving guy. Josh Alexander, I'm annoyed that he's just in this weird purgatory with the promotion because Impact sucks. But Jonah and David Finlay had a good match, 1 out of 3. And then to even one up, but still the same rating, is JR Kratos losing to Alex Coughlin, the man with a powerful mustache. Also gave this 1 out of 3. It's kind of a similar format, except the quicker, younger guy won this time around. Or is David Finlay older than Jonah? No, I don't think so. I'll take some sip of beer here. And then on the main event of another show was Jay White. He's doing a U.S. literal open challenge of Americans. He defeated Christopher Daniels in like a 20-minute match here. I gave that 2 out of 3. Jay White is so good. Daniels is getting back into that ring shape. He's coasting all over the indies right now. And by coasting, I mean traveling. And this binge watch was so easy to watch that I have decided, because these air on a Saturday night and they're super quick, I'm going to cover New Japan Strong on this podcast now. The shows are only an hour. They're filled with strong matches. Yes, pun intended. That's on purpose. And it's earned. Because when every main event delivered here across the month. And they have storylines involving Filthy Tom Lawler with the the strong openweight title. There's a little bit of factions brewing there. They got the Young Lions coming up and putting on good matches. And Jay White is a big interest for the show. So very excited to continue that. And yeah, look forward to more New Japan Strong. Maybe I'll keep it in the kind of recommended match format. Or the more I kind of get into it, the more detail I can go into kind of some stories that are ongoing right here. But the Jay White thing's the most interesting in the promotion and how the Young Lions are developing on Strong. With that said, time for the last modern segment. Here we go.
Rauchen ist tödlich, aber Bobby Guns ist Killer.
WXW, Back to the Roots, found on WXW Now and probably on Peacock when you're listening to this now because they have a deal with the Fed. And if you've listened to this podcast in the past, you will know that this promotion is near and dear to my heart, and I definitely look at it differently because European wrestling is different. Smaller rings, cramped venues, rowdy fans, dank, dark, kind of cult feeling to it all, and wrestlers that have a passion for the industry that are just trying to get better. And they're trying to do the best they can under, I don't want to say dire circumstances, but I guess it really reminds me of the Joshi scene in a lot of way. But let's get to the show, because we're coming out of the anniversary show, in which it was a lot of building to a few matches on here. And the big question is, did these matches deliver what they were shooting for? Did they get you excited to continue watching as we build towards 16 Karat in March, when you got Gresham, and I don't think Bandito's coming over. It's it's Gresham, AC Romero, and a few other guys, plus various members of WXW and so forth. So we started off with Michael Schenkenberg defeating Young Academy Gulias Jr. from Hungary. And yes, we have more Hungarians coming into Germany here. God, we gotta get some Turkish people into this thing. I need some Germans and some Hungarians and Turkish people. We got French. We got that covered. The French are doing well in Germany. That's a rarity. I guess you could say it about football these days. But anyways, respectable 9 minutes, Young Academy type match. Fine. No complaints. Tristan Archer defeats Carlos Romo, almost 15 minutes. This one had a very long time. Carlos Romo is the former partner of A-Kid, came from White Wolf Wrestling in Spain. I've seen Carlos Romo live at a Beyond Wrestling show. I like this guy. I hope he shows up in WXW more often. And Tristan Archer is a powerhouse dick Frenchman, and he knows his role. I think he needs a little bit more, I guess, explosivity across his power game to keep you interested in his longer matches. Something to work on there. But he cuts a promo afterwards. He's talking about essentially a conspiracy against him and management of WXW, which is Francis Caspin. Jurn Simmons defeats a young Oscar Munchau in 5.5 minutes, and they gave Oscar a nice little preview package where he studied under in the Fale dojo. This dude's like 6'6", big handsome German. Look out for Oscar Munchau in the for time to come, because he's got something. The lottery match continues for the shotgun title. It's Absolute Andy, our new champion, the Adler on VXV, against Dennis Dulnig, this dork. But Dennis Dulnig brought something he's never done before. And I gave a lot of matches on the show, like 1 out of 3. Shotgun title 1 out of 3. The Fast Time Muto match, 1 out of 3. Arrows of Hungary match, that's the tag titles, 1 out of 3. And I think that was it, except I gave one match 2 out of 3. We'll get to that one. But Dulnig teases a quick victory. Didn't get it. Absolute Andy unloads his arsenal, and Dulnig kicks out. They do a lot of fun near-fall shticks to it all. I thought this succeeded in what they were going for. It just didn't reach a height that I guess it really didn't have the chance to really go all that high, regardless. But moving on, Andy retains. Bobby Guns versus Michael Knight. There must be a winner. These two cut great promos against each other. They went to a count out, a time limit draw before that. So no count outs, no time draws in this one. They still had the clock. And that's one thing about WXW I'm really liking is the clock. in the left-hand corner. I think it's a good shtick. They even got good English commentary now. So for those wanting to jump in, hop on the English commentary. They got what's-his-face from, I think it's like What Culture, WCPW, did those shows. I don't think he does Rev Pro, but hey, he's here now. The German commentary, look, Andy Jackson, I'm not a fan of his on commentary. He really, like, he sounds exactly the same as he does in English. He's just speaking German. I don't like his cadence. I don't like his verbiage that he uses. Leave my German boys alone. Stay out of the booth. But Bobby Guns and Michael Knight went 18 minutes, 14 seconds. These guys brought it. I mentioned that there's something about Bobby Guns where he really needs to figure out his ground style and try to make it exciting. They do a lot of these shrugged shoulders, power walk motions, trying to get the crowd hyped or themselves hyped. It makes you come off stiff, and your body language tells us you're kind of trying too hard. So there's got to be a better way, and Michael Knight knows those better ways. He knows that a few more dynamic moves into his arsenal can bring that out, make the match better. They did a really cool ramp sequence where there was a brainbuster. There was even a part where Michael Knight tries to jump off the stage onto the down ramp, and Guns catches him. So they're both like bleeding. Guns, I think, gets his eyebrow just cracked mid-match. And what's fun is, I swear it looked like they were watching a Tam Nakano white belt match because they went to the kicks on the ground. They're egging each other on. I thought this was a winning 2 out of 3 star match formula. If this was more polished and crisp to really elevate the audience, this could be that 3-star territory that eludes a lot of European wrestling. Fast Time Muto against the Hungarian Peter Tahani. 15 minutes. This went a little too long. I think they ran out of ideas. They definitely went for a different match this time. More kicks, less flying from Peter Tahani, so taken away from his strengths a little bit. Didn't love it, but hey, I still went 1 out of 3, especially with, in my mind, their last match that I was comparing to. Arrows of Hungary retain the tag titles against the French duo Aigo Blanc and Senza Volto. 19 minutes. This was your typical format tag match, where it just built up to a hot tag over time, hit some moves, did some double team tandems until the finish. Again, little long, ran out of ideas. They're really suffering from a lot of these things. Unified World Title, VXV, it's Axel Tischer taking on Lavaniel, something I was pretty excited for. I wanted to see how much this Lavaniel believes in the Liebe. Glaube de Liebe! But unfortunately, before the match, Tristan Archer comes out, pummels this dude. Lavaniel gets back in the ring, doesn't want to lose his title match. And Axel Tischer feels remorse, but he ends up beating his ass anyways. I don't think the near falls did nearly enough. It really feels like Tischer's turning heel here, and it's things like this that kind of attribute to it all. I'm really feeling like him and a bunch of Frenchmen are gonna like get together and take over VXV, because we need some like groups here besides what we get in the main event, which was the Kayfik Schlacht 3-on-2 handicap match, the VXV Academy against Baby Allison, Maggot, and Vincent Heisenberg. Because if you remember, Heisenberg and Dreisker have been going to war. It ends up in countouts and DQs and whatnot. So here we are in the cage, and it's just 20 minutes of them hitting each other with shit until the finish. It's very boring. It's probably the story was good. Dreisker has won every single cage match he's ever been in. And here we're finally in handicap situation here. Heisenberg has his number. Anil Marek, I thought, was probably one of the better guys in the match, and that's not kind of speaking much. Again, it was boring. I don't think this worked. As for a show, they split it into 2 parts, which I definitely appreciated, because this was a long-ass show, and a lot of their matches went long amounts of time, especially in that back half. And I know they're trying to get these guys a lot more ring time, and doing something like this, I think, will pay off dividends in the long run. But when it comes to things like a pre-match beatdown on Lavagna in your main event, and then basically a kayfabe schlock that you kind of set yourself up for failure, I think you gave yourselves a lot of the wrong ideas. That said, it looks like 16 Karat Gold's kind of field is running out, or filling out. And after the show, Caspin has the whole locker room. He's like, congratulations, guys, good show. And by the way, there's going to be a 4-way for the unified title because Lavagna clearly has a rematch that he kind of needs after getting beaten down. Tristan Archer does indeed convince and bribe management to get into the match himself. And then Jurgen Simmons gets in the match because of various shenanigans that have happened in past matches, whether a rogue eye poke leading to the finish. So it's a lot of committee work that they're doing on. It's very NWA 80s. And hey, if you want to get everybody on your biggest show of the year, the second night of 16 Karat, 16 Karat is a good way to start it. And I like the 3 ways that they did for the unified title. I think a lot of these guys getting a main event like that is for the best. And that's my review of WXW. I'm happy with it, but also kind of disappointed that a lot of these matches did kind of bore me with how long they were, and the skill just isn't quite there yet for those sorts of times. On to the retro. And it's time for the All Japan Women Destiny part of the podcast here.
Good shit.
Yeah. Do you think Akira Hokuto and Kensuke Sasaki, Power Warrior, made love to such amazing songs?
Well, I mean, if you listen to Hokuto's song, it is very much as sex R&B music, so yes.
I love it. We had to play that song now. She is basically the Dangerous Queen now.
Yeah, everything but the face paint. Really.
I mean, she's got the blue lipstick. She's doing heel shit. She's got the sword. She's putting knees on throats.
Her hair isn't long yet. She doesn't have the eye makeup, and they haven't called her Dangerous Queen yet, which is kind of weird that they haven't called her that yet.
No, but we're basically there.
Oh, yeah, we're basically there. It's like she's pretty much Dangerous Queen. She's like baby version Dangerous Queen, though. She hasn't fully transformed to her final form yet.
And as always, before we get into this All Japan Women Classics episode, we are on episode 61. The summer of 1992 continues during the Grand Prix. But where would we be, Kay, without our amazing plugs? Patreon.com/redleaf or retrocast, where you can get all our amazing reviews of more retro Joshi out there, such as our Joshi 2010s journey, coming out of the Dark Age, and my LLPW reviews, where, Kay, you can hear my amazing opinions on the FMW invasion of LLPW.
Sounds fantastic, but also on that same $5 tier, you get my JD Star review starting in the year 2001, which by the time this episode comes out, a new episode will have already been available, talking about the debut of Yumioka.
Yeah, she's very prominent in our Joshi 2010s journey.
She's very prominent even now, technically speaking. It's kind of funny.
I guess. So yeah, definitely hit us up on Twitter at BowlingJD. You are at Blue_Kano, which stems from doing this.
Oh yeah, of course. It's from the very first joke tweet that I put out from this podcast of Blue Kano with blue face paint.
It's great. Love it. So hit us up there. Join the Patreon. It's growing each and every month, which is nice to see. Nice to see growth.
Yeah, it's good that people are appreciating the content that we put out too. I think it's I think I speak for both of us when I say that we both enjoy doing this and enjoy putting this information out there, and especially getting to uncover the Yumioka debut match, which I believe you might be putting up on the Daily Motion page at some point.
I hope to, yeah.
Because it's a match you can't find anywhere. It's a lost match, and I found it.
Daily Motion, Red Leaf Retrocast. Easy enough to search for. And I'm sure if you kind of just type in Google Yumioka debut, you will also find it. All right. All Japan Women Classics, episode 61. We have a full card here between two shows, July 30th, 1992 and August 9th, 1992. Again, we are in the middle of the Japan Grand Prix. Bison Kimura is essentially, she's not retired yet, but she's out with injury.
She's dead.
Yeah, she's done. She's going to be done for the next couple of years. And
Murdered by Kong.
Yeah, murdered by Kong, literally. And I mean, as we're watching these shows, on our last 1K, you remember Mariko Yoshida pulled double duty, and she is getting banged up each and every week.
Oh, yeah, even on this show, she has her shoulder taped up with the athletic tape and bandages, and that woman is like, she's like being put together, held together by glue and tape at this point.
Yeah, people talk about Akira Hokuto and her injury problems and career
Right.
getting... Mariko Yoshida is making a strong contender.
And nobody, I don't think, even knew about that, at least until we discovered it.
Well-
I don't think I knew that. I don't think I knew how badly she'd banged up. I knew she had a history of injuries, but I don't think I understood the severity of it just entirely until we saw this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a record of her kind of busting her neck, and she had to retire for, I think it's like 2 years as well. So that's kind of back-to-back injuries in the same year of two very prominent figures on the roster for All Japan Women.
Mid-card, upper mid-card acts.
Well,
I'd say.
she's on the rise. I mean, she's winning titles. She's being featured a lot, Mariko Yoshida. Her and Saki Hasegawa are on the rise in the promotion. You know, losing a talent that's going up the card the way she is does mean something. Obviously, AJW, at least in this time, have plenty of people still on the roster. Currently, that becomes pretty dire later on, but that's a conversation for another day.
Right.
And, I mean, we've had this conversation a lot where if you are injured on this roster, the Matsunagas, in their infinite horrible wisdom, say, well, if you don't go, we'll just replace your ass.
That's exactly the motto. If you can't make it, we have somebody who can. You're replaceable. And it's very, I mean, it's so funny that they would have that mindset now when their talent pool is more or less dried up. They don't have the Crush Gals era level of people putting applications to join. And so it's like, oh yeah, you're replaceable. Tomoko Watanabe?
Well, I mean, yeah, basically. That's what's happening here.
And that doesn't exactly... listen, if you know anything about Tomoko's career, that doesn't exactly work out too well.
Well, considering she's still wrestling, works out for her, I guess.
I guess so. You know what's funny about Yoshida? And I just remembered this. She's been wrestling, or we've been watching her since I joined the podcast.
Ah.
Yeah, because we talked about, remember, the shoulder pads on all of her gear.
That's
all of her
right.
gear had those weird shoulder pads. So she's been in this promotion for some years now.
Yes.
So it's kind of weird that she's just now getting the upward momentum push only for, injuries to derail that.
Well, if you've noticed the trajectory, it generally, because they debut so young in AJW at this time, it generally takes them about 2 to 3 years before they finally get started. They start finally getting featured on the card and moving on up.
But it's been longer for her at this point.
All right. So
She was there when the Crush Gals were on the roster still.
So that'd be 89. I mean, we're 92, so that's 3 years. Let's see. Mariko Yoshida. Let me click on her
It
little
feels like
name
it's been
here.
a lot longer.
Hold the phone there. Let's see.
Being held.
Yeah, you should hold longer.
I have patience that's being tested here.
All right. Mariko Yoshida debuted at the very end of 1988. So finally getting a push here. And I mean, we saw her finally start getting featured at the end of 91 and we've seen her throughout 92. So yeah, that timeline pretty much matches up.
Okay, it just feels like it's been so much longer with her.
Well, you joined the podcast in 1989.
A good year.
Yes. All right. On this July 30th card, we have 3 matches we're going to talk about in detail, as that was on the Classics episode. They have it split between the first 2 openers, which are the Fuji TV Network Tag Team Tournament first round matches.
I'll correct you. It is the Tag Team Grand Prix sponsored by Fuji TV Cup.
All right, Mr. Technical. Funny enough, Fuji TV was the sponsor of the original Grand Prix.
Yes, which is why the name is so long.
Yeah, there you go. And the main event of this Classics is the main event of the July 30th show. It is a cage match between Bull Nakano and Akira Hokuto. Basically, Bull Nakano's specialty match these days.
She's been in every single one of the cage matches so far. It's kind of nuts, actually.
Yeah. And in between, we cut to the August 9th show, which I believe is the finish of the Fuji TV Tag Team Tournament. Correct?
Sponsored by Snickers. Yes, I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think
we get a winner at the end of this, so I don't think so.
Well, yeah, we do.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Do I need to pull up the video? Triple check?
Oh, no, God. Yeah, no. You're good. Listen, I've had a long work week, so it's coming back to me slowly.
Well, it's okay. I'll pull up the video right now so I can double check the finish. Because now you're making me question things.
Because what, you can't remember either? I don't blame you.
Yeah, we may have waited too long in between these recording sessions and watching, but my computer's acting very slow as we go behind the scenes. We start off, as I will hopefully mute this thing in time. There we go. a little ding there.
Good call. Good catch.
Yeah, I hear the classic symbol in the back. Okay.
We start with Takako Inoue and Eskamita LCO.
Yes. It's Takako Inoue, Mita against Mariko Yoshida, Saki Hasegawa. As we mentioned, Mariko Yoshida is all bandaged up. She is having a bad time.
Her arm has more tape on it. Her arm looks so bulky because she has so much tape on it. Hilarious.
Okay.
We get LCO versus Yoshida and Saki Hasegawa. The fun match. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really liking what. So the exception of the second match, but these 3 out of the 4 tag matches, we'll get to that second one, have different thoughts besides the match.
What do you mean?
But okay, well, Terry Powers in the finals.
I would say there's more than one bad match on this card.
But it is funny. It is funny. I wouldn't say this is the best one. I think the third match we're going to talk about is the best tag to watch, just because
I agree.
Yeah, it's high energy. It's a lot to like. So the Mita Inoue, Yoshida Hasegawa, it's definitely more green wrestlers. Inoue, new gear, looking good. What's happening here?
Sporty gear. He keeps having that sort of sporty gear look to it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. We're starting to see them develop their own styles. I want to say Mita now has this face paint going on with some fire on her face.
Yeah, it was very interesting, especially because it's like almost like right as she joined LCO, she decided to change up her look a little bit. It kind of makes sense for this promotion. Whenever people have joined, like say Kaku Dome or Goku Mento, they always change their look up. I guess
right.
Kyoko Inoue the exception to the rule, but
right. Inoue is looking much better in the ring. Yoshida, despite her injuries, is still trying to fly around the ring, but she's very hurt. Saki Hasegawa still only knows how to spam the X button for her back heel kick.
No. X button, you mean back circle kick. Back circle kick. That's all she knows how to do.
Yeah, but there's a lot of high energy, a lot to like here. And Yoshida and Hasegawa do win this match, which, doesn't Inoue pin? Oh my god. What's wrong with us?
I'm pretty sure Inoue wins.
I don't think so. I think...
I remember his Mariko. No, yeah, because Yoshida did win because her mouth was busted open with blood as she was cheering.
That's right. No. That was the next match. She gets pounded. It's Mima Shimoda in this match that takes back heel kicks from Hasegawa. And
Are you looking at the right match?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not. Mima Shimoda's the next one.
So you looking at the right match? No, it was definitely Hasegawa because we made the comment that she's
That was the
bending up and
third.
her mouth
Yeah,
is
that was the
bleeding
third.
again.
Yeah, that was the third one where everyone gets bloodied and pummeled. Yeah, I'm mixing
Yeah, but
things
this
up.
one, Yoshida's match is her mouth is bleeding like it was in the last match we saw her. By the end of the match, her mouth was full of blood. I wonder if this is a sign of things.
Everyone in AJW is out to stiff each other as hard as possible. All right, let's. Okay, so the finish was Yoshida reversing the Inoue back shoulder suplex into a Joshi roll. That's what it was.
Yeah, because remember Yoshida jumped up, and this when we saw her mouth just full of blood.
Yeah.
Her mouth was just red.
All right, let's move on before we further embarrass ourselves. Manami Toyota and Mima Shimoda, the Tokyo Sweethearts, they're back.
Yeah, they're back in action. They didn't call them the Tokyo Sweethearts, by the way.
I will call them the Tokyo Sweethearts.
Forgot their name.
Versus a super young Tomoko Watanabe, still wrestling to this day in 2022, and Bat Yoshinaga.
She's jacked. The Tomoko is jacked, young, and full of youth and hope, as opposed to her Mario incarnation, who's overweight and sad looking.
And has broken knees.
Two of them.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, we were doing like side-by-side comparisons of her across the decades, and arguably her worst year was probably in the early 2010s.
It's funny because I did another deep dive on her look, and when she hits 2001, the earliest back I can go back, her looks just stays the same.
Okay, it just never changes
looks
from
the
there.
same. She looks the same person. Still fat, still sad, still busted. This doesn't change. She just hits a wall, and that's her look forever.
Where does Tomoko and does she go to Neo? Where does she end up in the early 2000s?
I think she just bounces around. I don't remember. I do know if she's in Neo at some point. I don't know if she sticks around for much longer.
To cage match.
It's a cage match, I guess.
Right.
I do
I'm just going to put
her.
in 2001. Let's see what props up here.
She'd still be in AJW.
She is still in AJW, so I got to go much further. What do you think? 2008?
Because 2005.
Okay, 2005. I will do
Good year.
2005. I don't know about that. She's AJW to the end, and then she's A to Z.
She's coming till it dies. Oh yeah, she hooks up with Hota's crew. Yeah,
that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Last like 2 years, year and a half, give or take.
All right, that was a less fun an adventure than I was hoping for. Okay,
it's like all right, she ends up with Hota's crew. Oops, I forgot.
Bummer. Okay, yeah. So Tomoko Watanabe looking jacked, looking good. She's teaming with Bat Yoshinaga. They're doing a karate shtick with no boots. That whole thing. Yeah, this match was also about stiffing each other really hard because Bat Yoshinaga can't wrestle. Tomoko is extremely green. She's very young. So the entire match essentially consisted of Mima Shimoda doing suplexes and Manami Toyota drop kicking the shit out of everybody until they win.
She ran to every corner multiple times. Drop kick, another corner, drop kick, another corner, drop kick, another corner, drop kick.
And because Manami Toyota just is an Energizer bunny in the ring, Tomoko is tasked with having to take these drop kicks and slowly get to her feet over and over and over again. You're just going to have to take this, Watanabe, and so she did.
Because Bat's not going to do it.
No. The less Bat was out of the match, the better we were off. Bat Yoshinaga would fit in perfectly with those FMW scrubs.
Especially because she's a fake shoot fighter. So I thought of something. So you remember how the cat does the karate noises, and I don't know if he's legitimately a karate person, but it very much is supposed to come off as fake guy karate man on Nitro.
No, the cat was a legit karate guy.
I know, but but on Nitro they're trying to portray it as that you're supposed to not believe him, right? Even though he's actually that. The gimmick is that they're trying to make it seem like he's not that, right?
No.
Okay, listen. In my head, I just think of Bat Yoshinaga making karate noises and saying, "I'm a shoot fighter, guys. I promise."
Are you saying? So you're saying Bat Yoshinaga is Ernest the Cat Miller of
That one gets
I
you.
couldn't even get through it.
Yes, but the only difference is Ernest Cat Miller has credentials to be a shoot fighter. Yoshinaga does not. She has a believe me, bro.
my
I was
God.
in MMA once.
I have a picture of Bat Yoshinaga now in my head, doing the cat
So do
doing the cat dance.
That's it. I have her doing the karate, the
Oh my
crane
God.
pose, and making karate noises. I have that in my head.
Bat's telling everyone in the audience, "I'll beat the hell out of all you."
I'm a legit shoot fighter, I promise. But that was a Nintendo.
All right. Third match, the one we actually should talk about. Manami Toyota and Mima Shimoda, Tokyo Sweethearts versus Saki Asagawa and Mariko Yoshida. The I will kick your face shoot style until your nose is bloody and you're missing teeth match.
Yeah, Yoshida's mouth was bloody before. It gets more bloody now. And her nose is bloody too at the end of it, too.
Yes, so was Shimoda, and Manami Toyota, I think, was determined to try to kick Saki Asagawa's face off.
Yeah, she's like, you could spam your quarter circle back kick. I could spam my half circle kick.
Front kick.
Kick.
Yeah. It is a really exciting match, though. It's just nonstop energy. Manami Toyota actually did not faceplant on the apron this time, doing moonsaults.
No, she got close, though.
She always gets close, but she did succeed this time around. There is
the cat and saved her face.
Yeah, and despite like Mariko Yoshida looking like she could fall apart at any moment, she's still doing the big run up the rope, springboard splashes to the outside, to the floor. Even Saki Hasagawa's getting involved with crossbodies to the floor. Suicide dives, the topes, they're doing all of that. And then Manami Toyota is just one-ups them doing the no-hand springboard.
The crowd popped really hard when she did that, too.
Oh, they popped throughout the match. And who wins?
I think the Sweethearts win.
I think you're right. Let's see. Going back to the tail of the tape. Yep, there's Mariko Yoshida's a very busted face.
Her face is literally just red.
There's Manami Toyota. Yeah, there's the big roll. Big superplex from the top from Mima Shimoda. She's very upset. And yeah. So they did the two combo. The superplex from the top and the moonsault, but then Yoshida with the very busted face does she roll up? Yeah, she rolls up Shimoda. There you go.
Does she win?
Yeah, she wins. Yoshida.
Oh my God.
Got her shoulder. Oh my God.
How slow is that roll up?
Yeah, it looked kind of rough. Yeah, she's.
Why did they win? It's so weird how they would have
because
them
they're getting
win.
pushed, Kay.
Her face is being pushed into the grinder currently, so I don't know how good that is.
All right. Good match. I recommend it. A match I don't recommend, but it's recommend from the in-ring, but it's extremely entertaining. It's Terry Power. She's back, boys. And Kyoko Inoue versus Akira Hokuto and Toshio Yamada. If you want a match where it's 3 AJW women running around Terry Power as Terry Power tries to breathe, and Toshio Yamada kicking her head in the entire time, this is the match for you. Akira Hokuto was not about the Terry Power game. She's like, I'm only working with Kyoko. It's fine. Yamada, you can go kick Terry Power and maybe she'll sell for you if she's capable.
Oh, she sold eventually because those kicks, I think, became a little shoot because some of those kicks looked a little snug. Terry kind of had to sell those ones.
Yeah,
you tell they're not happy with Terry Powers? Could you tell that none of the girls like her?
I think she's fine, but because she doesn't know how to work the way they do, it doesn't quite work out. I was kind of surprised by the finish because Toshio Yamada ends up pinning Kyoko Inoue.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. You'd think Terry Powers would have gotten the pin, but maybe they just don't care enough about the Gaijin to even want to involve her in anything. Well,
the whole idea is protecting the big scary Gaijin, and she's a foreigner, and there is value in that. There always has been in Japanese wrestling.
Right. It's the Gaijin Foreigner Invader thing has been, like, you think it's big over here. It's always been big in Japan. It's still big, even now.
Yeah, and as far as AJW is concerned right now, they still see value in her. They come to realize that's a bad idea, and then they cut that out.
I wonder how fast that they came to that realization.
Yeah. But other than that, this match is fine. Anyway.
She was gassed like 2 minutes in.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. I have never seen someone so out of breath so fast.
And our main event, the real reason why you're all here, it's like a 26-minute cage match. Even the classics show 24 minutes of it. It's Bull Nakano taking on Akira Hokuto. This stems from, I believe, the last episode where they had a singles match and Akira Hokuto had been stopped due to ref stoppage for losing, and that led to this match, saying she wants to prove she can beat Bull Nakano. And it's escape the cage only, no door, just over the top and out.
Much shorter cage, too, compared to the last cages they've used.
Yes, it's not like 1,000,000 feet tall.
No, it is noticeably, it's like UFC almost size. Maybe a little bigger than the UFC cage.
I would say it's probably a foot or two taller than that.
Yeah, but it's about there. It's not very tall at all.
No. Probably for the best, because Bull Nakano will jump off it.
He does jump off of it.
As she does. And so the match is more of a brawl, as it should. It focuses on that. They run into the cage accordingly. Nice little back and forth. And then it builds up to two big spots. One being the Bull Nakano leg drop from the top, in which Akira Hokuto moves. The first one to ever do that. That puts Bull Nakano out for the count. And psychotically, Akira Hokuto does a front flat back drop kick from the top of the cage, hits Bull Nakano, and goes back first on the mat. That had to suck.
Oh, and given how banged up she probably already is, I don't imagine the pain she was in. But she's probably high as fuck on painkillers at this point, so maybe she didn't feel it, because she clearly got up pretty...
God.
She clearly didn't feel like she felt it.
Oh, that was... I mean, we know these mats are hard as shit.
They're basically no give.
Yeah, they're basically cement. So she's going back first on this. She is clearly just all up on adrenaline. And I don't know about UK, but I think I saw her and that adrenaline running down. And as soon as she hit the floor, it was collapse time.
Immediately, as soon as she got out of the ring, she just fucking gave. It's immediate.
So what did you think of the match exactly? Because I really like this. This is one of the better cage matches I've seen, say, pre-1997.
So I had never seen this cage match. I didn't know this cage match existed. Yeah, I didn't know this cage match existed prior to this. In my head, the only cage matches that I could think of in AJW were the two Aja ones, even in the Jungle Jack one, versus was it Inoue and Bull? Those are the ones I could think of. And the shitty ones in the 2000s. But I didn't know this happened. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is a pleasant surprise. I'm actually excited for once because I've never seen this before. And I thought that was the best cage match they've had so far. Out of all of the cage matches they've done, this was the better one.
Yeah, it didn't have quite the heat of the second Aja Kong Bull Nakano match.
They didn't need that. It had the intensity of trying to beat the other person, which I thought fit this feud where the heat fits the other feud.
Yeah, it's a big redemption match story for Hokuto, which is, I guess, the story of her career. Over and over again, they go to this. And a rare loss for Bull Nakano. This is, besides what, the kind of screw jobby cage finish from the Aja Kong first meeting. Yeah, this was her first pinfall, or not pinfall, but first kind of clean loss in any capacity in a long, long time, especially in a singles setting.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder, because I don't remember if they ever have Hokuto challenged for the belt or not. Because we're getting really close to the time frame which Aja Kong finally wins it. So I'm kind of curious how they get from this match to there.
I wonder if they have one defense in between. Let's look this up for fun.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I'm also kind of curious about that as well, because how the belt was defended, you would think that they could just not do it anyways because they've done that before.
doesn't seem Bull Nakano defends the title in between. She only has 2 matches in 92 with the title.
Okay, that's interesting.
According to Cage Match, anyways.
According to Cage Match, which, as we find out with the August 9th show, is not everything's on Cage Match, which we already knew because fans, sort of fan sourced. So sometimes sort of things are hard to keep track of. People don't have the information or the sort of data to put things up there.
Yeah, Cage Match says the Cage Match was only Cage Match says was only 18 minutes.
Incorrect.
I think maybe the whole video is 26. I think that's the whole thing then. Maybe
I don't know. It seemed like it was a 20 almost 25-minute match.
Yeah. I mean, these two have to meet in between Russell Marine Piat and now, right?
I think so. So I'm kind of curious if they do or not, especially after this match.
1992. All real time. Looking up this nonsense.
I know our next episode has another special match on it, so I don't think it's on that one.
Does not seem to be. No.
So maybe they just don't. Maybe it's just a typical AJW belt's a boxing belt. They don't defend it very often.
Yeah, I guess not. Seems like a lost cause, but this surely sets up Hokuto for something important later in the year. Or even now,
I think
right?
so. You would think so, but I think she might get hurt before then again.
Yeah, maybe. Perhaps. Wouldn't be shocked.
But we're not too far away from when she starts becoming a part-time performer.
I mean, that's still 2.5 years away?
A year and a half-ish, I'd give.
Okay.
If I have my timeline memory correctly, when it sort of starts.
All right. Right decision? Hokuto goes over? I think so.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the right decision. I think at this point, Bull Nakano's won so much, you kind of don't want her to win this match. You kind of want to give Hokuto the rub in. She didn't pin her, so it's okay to get her to lose here. Visually for the fans, the Bull lost. She lost because she couldn't get out of the cage before Hokuto. So it's kind of it's got a different tier of loss. It's like she didn't get pinned, but she still lost. It still kind of protects Bull, and also makes Hokuto look like a beast. So you kind of do both. So I think it's the smart decision here. Whereas if you had Bull win, it just lull Bull wins more. And I think the fans are kind of getting tired of that. You can sort of tell sometimes in the crowd reactions.
Yeah. Well, the next episode is the big August show AJW does every year. And that's going to be an incredible, incredible show. I have to preview this. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead. I already know one of the matches on there.
So it's the Midsummer Typhoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gotta pull it up. I accidentally closed the page.
Chop.
Yeah, I'm on a roll with this one. All right, Midsummer Typhoon, Tokyo, Japan, August 15th. We might end up watching this whole fucking thing.
I'm down, especially the main event. I'm watching the whole main event.
Well, except this Kaori Ito Bat Yoshinaga match. I do not want to watch that.
You and me! We have to watch the entire thing. You said it yourself, sir.
I would much rather watch Miori Kamiya and Terry Powers take on Kumiko Maekawa and... Oh, that's Big May. And Tomoko Watanabe.
Listen, I heard you say the whole thing. And so that means the whole thing. Listen, you can eat your food, but you're going to eat your vegetables too, sir. Whether you like it or not.
Akemi Torisu is in the opener. God help me.
Oh, we're watching that too.
God, I hope that's not available.
If it is, we're watching it.
There is a trios match, third from the top, Inoue, Yoshida, and other Inoue, taking on LCO, Etsuko Mita, Mima Shimoda, and Cynthia Moreno.
Okay, so LCO and Cynthia Moreno.
The LCO duo and Cynthia Moreno. And then it's the Fuji TV Tag Team Tournament Finals, which is Hokuto and Yamada taking on Aja Kong and Bull Nakano. Wait a minute.
What?
When did they team up?
Hold up, rewind. What?
Interesting. Okay.
So what were those teams again? Go ahead and run that by me one more time.
It's Hokuto and Yamada, who we just saw beat the amazing team of Kyoko Inoue and Terry Powers.
Uh-huh.
And they're taking on Aja Kong and Bull Nakano.
What the fuck?
Can they coexist?
It existed even back then. Oh no.
And then the
Christ.
main event, something I know you're excited about, IWA
Very
World
excited.
Title match, Hair versus Hair, Manami Toyota, Toshio Yamada.
Oh my god. This match, I cannot wait for you to see this because you've never seen this match. And I've watched
Not.
this match more than a dozen times. This is my favorite match of all time.
Yeah,
I love every second
I've
of
seen
it.
like clips and stuff. Yeah, I've never
I've
seen the
watched
full
this match more than a dozen times. It is such a good match, and then the ending is so good. Just everything about this match is just perfect.
You sound a little biased, Kay. I don't know if I can take your opinion on this.
I'm 100% biased. If you shit on this match, we can't be friends.
All right, well, we'll leave it at that. I think that does it for the AJW.
Yeah.
Okay, now I got to pull up the New Japan drop, the Nuge.
Nodge.
The Nodge, as hipsters call it. Is that what they call it now? They
don't know.
leveled up.
The douche, the nage, nage toi. I don't know.
Yeah, all right. Great Muta music. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to make this a quick one. You ready?
All right, I'm ready.
All right. I watched 3 New Japan matches from February 8th, 1997, the Sapporo show that they do each year around this time. But I did watch that AJPW match I meant to watch in the last episode. It is the January 20th, 1997, Kento Kobashi defending the Triple Crown against Mitsuharu Misawa. The story, for those keeping track, is Kobashi's journey to the title. He finally won it by defeating Akira Taue, but he also has these side stories where he can't beat his generation members, which is Kawada and Misawa. He went to that 60-minute draw epic with Kawada, where they just proceeded to drop each other on their heads for an hour. And that leads us into 1997, where Misawa's going for the title. Still can't beat Misawa, and at the end of the match, Kobashi still could not beat Misawa. It's definitely not an hour, but it is a journey. It's, I think, half an hour or so. It's absolutely amazing. It's everything you come to expect from an All Japan Triple Crown match of this era. It's Misawa kind of formatting the match as we have gotten accustomed to, where it's selling some big outside moves, fighting on the apron. Kobashi is hitting all of his stuff. The near falls are fantastic. Crowd's into it. I would probably, from a singles match perspective, this is definitely kind of top 5 territory that I have seen in the 90s. I think there's a couple tags I like more than this, but from a story perspective, this is one of the better stories I've seen from kind of the early to mid 90s Puro that we're going on this journey for. Just kind of filling in these gaps, watching these kinds of matches. So Kobashi loses and Misawa goes on through. Very interesting. The booking is kind of fun to follow between what they see the Triple Crown as and who challenges for it. It's my main issue with All Japan is kind of the opposite issue that New Japan has. Is New Japan has the more exciting cards. I feel like I say this every cast, but there's always new listeners. And while AJPW has the more interesting main events, but now since 1992, essentially, it's the same guys that have challenged for this title over and over again, including the same gaijins with like Steve Williams and Stan Hansen. On to February 8th, the New Japan show. El Samurai teams with Jushin Thunder Liger, taking on Shinjiro Otani and Koji Kanemoto. This is a tag offer match getting ready for the junior title match between Liger and Shinjiro Otani, which has excellent reviews, so I can't wait to watch that one next time. Other than that, it's a really kind of standard tag affair that gets you kind of... I was more pumped into El Samurai versus Koji Kanemoto, if I'm being honest, because the Liger Otani one, they just kind of went through the motions, and built up everything for the final few near fall sequences between Samurai and Liger. Not much else to the match. Do not recommend it. A match I certainly do not recommend is this IWGP tag title match I watched from that show. It's Fujinami and Old Man Kengo Kimura taking on Keiji Muto and the Junji Harada, the former Strong Machine. Naturally, since Muto's involved, it's a lot of just limb work and doing nothing. Fujinami, I mean, he's extremely solid. There's nothing wrong with him. But Kengo Kimura is essentially just a flying knee strike, while Junji Harada being kind of on the older end nowadays and he's slowing down. He's just a lariat, but as the last one, it's all build up very, very slow. It always feels like it's time killer until the last couple minutes where they start doing near falls, and that was mostly on Junji Harada and Fujinami and Kimura. Muto kind of just out of the equation. Very boring.
Muto was never good.
No. I definitely see more stinkers from Keiji Muto than winners. That's absolutely true.
He was never a good wrestler.
The match I do recommend, which is a lot of fun to check out, is the Manabu Nakanishi and Shinya Hashimoto tag team against the NWO tandem of Chono and Scott Norton. This was a lot of fun. Oh yeah, it's Scott Norton and Chono taking on Hashimoto and a young mullet and sexy mustache Manabu Nakanishi. This dude's jacked. Hashimoto is not. Scott Norton built like a truck, and Chono bad. And by bad, I mean he's a bad man.
He's a bad Chono.
He's a bad Chono. This was great. Scott Norton and Chono are absolutely heels. Chono's doing low blows. Scott Norton is just being a big dude that's there to sell for Hashimoto coming in and kicking ass. Very good Hashimoto hot tag. And there's an excellent sequence where Nakanishi gets a lot of time to shine, especially putting Scott Norton into a torture rack, which gets a huge pop. Really convinces the crowd that Norton's going to tap out. And it essentially leads into the eventual babyface duo essentially is going to win. But then on the outside, you can't forget about the NWO members. It's Tenzon and Buff Bagwell on the outside. I think there's a couple more guys, but these two are the important ones because Tenzon kind of loosely distracts the ref. He doesn't get on the apron or anything, but Buff Bagwell trips Nakanishi and shit and there's even a pull the ref out of the ring kind of moment. Bullet Club style, as we come to know and love. The heat goes through the roof. The crowd viscerally boos. But, hey, the heels do end up winning, and the crowd hates it. Good heat. This was great. I do recommend this one.
Good?
Yeah. So, good All Japan Triple Crown match. Definitely got a way to watch that. And then the above average, do recommend NWO against Hashimoto and Nakanishi. That's it. That is it for New Japan through the 90s. I will continue on with the February 9th show with that excuse me. Man.
And that Keiji Muto getting to you.
My throat's like scratchy tonight. Very strange. Maybe I'm talking too much, but I guess we'll play Nitro and get this shit over with. I'm not excited to talk about it. Trying to clear my throat, Kay, because we got fucking July 5th, 1999 WCW Nitro to talk about the go-home show for Bash at the Beach.
You mean bad at the beach? Because the show was bad.
Yeah, it's at the Georgia Dome. There's allegedly 25,000 people there. Sure, I couldn't care less that they're lying about attendance.
Who cares?
Yeah.
There's been a question. Are you like Dave?
Well, I mean, Dave was last week.
But did you become like Dave since last week?
I did not become like Dave. I'm sure trying to be. This week's all about weird promos and kidnapping women and scaring them.
Yeah, just an average Tuesday, Sunday, whatever.
Yeah, so they totally recap last week's events where Kevin Nash steals Gorgeous George as he ran away from the title match with David Flair, and then Tori just goes with him.
And amongst all that we completely forgot, the fucking red-faced Psycho Man stole the belt.
Oh, yeah. So they do a Thunder recap in the middle of it. And we see...
They do it at the beginning of it. They do a beginning recap of a thing that was on Thunder, of them in the hood.
They're in Kevin the hood Nash. Of Lafayette, Louisiana, a place I've lived before.
It's hilarious because they're actually in the hood. There are people on the side that are definitely not part of this. You can just tell by how they're looking at all of it.
It's staged. Get out of here.
Okay. There's a guy at the corner starting to look. He was just observing at the wild white people beating each other up in the streets.
Yeah, so they recap this Thunder thing where it's Kevin Nash on a bed getting a massage because he's too cool for school.
That's how it starts.
Yeah,
he's gonna get match. He's gonna get his belt back and get match, and then he's on the phone with them, trying to hash out a deal, a negotiation.
Yeah, he's going to trade the woman for the belt. And they're going to meet in the hood in Lafayette, Louisiana to do that. And it's a double cross. They tackle him, and then they reveal that it's Tori Wilson under the hood, and she laughs. It's very confusing.
And I think they tried to run him over with the car, too.
No, he was sitting on the car, and then they just beat him up.
Oh, I thought I remember them trying to run him over.
Nah.
Either way, it was a weird cold open segment, that's for sure.
I thought we missed a week. I thought I clicked the wrong episode. So anyways.
I just remember, like, oh yeah, Kevin Nash thinks he's so hood that he's in the hood doing a promo skit segment thing. Okay.
Not enough FUBU and Surge for me to get into it. The first match was Juventud versus Chavo Guerrero. Do you care? No, and nor should we, because it ends in a DQ when Macho Man and Sid come out and pummel them, and then they cut a really, really awkward, bad promo in the Georgia Dome.
What's funny is the only part of this that I thought I remember is Juvi trying to not slip on the big star dick.
Yeah, he made sure because he botched it the week before. It was funny. No, because what happens right after that is Chavo comes out and he slips on his ass.
Exactly. I was about to say. So what happens is he avoids it, but Chavo comes out and busts on his ass.
Yeah. So yeah, cruiserweights get buried yet again. So who could care about their match? So here's the weird thing. Kevin Nash got like a video playing while Sid Vicious and Macho Man are in the ring, but they're not looking at the screen where Nash is cutting an awkward like promo about trading women. And they're talking directly into the camera to us, and we can't like hear a word that they're saying. We can't hear a word Nash is saying because they don't have the audio piped in correctly. They're talking about nonsense. Something about they're going to do another title match tonight. It's going to be Nash and Sid again. Again, Kay. Again.
Again. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes. I liked the match the first time so much I wanted it a second time. Thank you.
Right. You loved the DQ finish the first time that they built up over the course of the night.
And Kevin Nash is going to tell me about his new Bitcoin currency, women for belts.
Yeah, kind of. And Gorgeous George and Tori are just like hanging out. So, whatever.
They're hanging out.
Gorgeous George did not look ruined, Kay, as Kevin Nash promised me the week prior.
We don't know that. We haven't inspected her vaginal area to know this, okay?
Well, says you.
Oh, okay. Says you, right?
Yeah, all right. Rick Steiner versus Mean Gene came out. And Ric Flair was with David Flair.
Sure was. And you know what we found out? Hey, you remember how Scott Steiner was the U.S. champion and we were confused how Van Hammer got to challenge a Steiner but never specified which one? Well, we got the answer to that question when they told us they stripped the U.S. belt off of Scott Steiner because he hadn't defended it in like 30 days was the reason it came. And it's just being awarded to David Flair.
That was later in the show. Shivani explained it because Ric Flair just comes out and he gives...
They said it
was it was during this segment that commentary's like,
explained it. Because so Rick does not explain it. Shivani explains it on commentary because Rick didn't even explain it at all. He just has the U.S. belt and presents it to David with no explanation.
Yeah.
And Shivani is like, well, because Scott hasn't defended the belt in 30 days, he gets to take the belt off of him.
Yeah, so Ric Flair just awards his son the U.S. title, says it's because he beat Nash last week by countout, and then Little Nate comes out with a bunch of women. Some are less attractive than the others, and they fondle all over him. And then Buff Bagwell comes out as tons of balloons are falling from the ceiling, and they book Bagwell versus David Flair for the U.S. title tonight. Boy, those ratings are surely going to fly through the roof.
What's so weird is they made this big grand entrance for Buff for him to cut a really shitty promo and get a match later in the show.
It wasn't for Buff. It was to celebrate David Flair getting the title, but they failed to actually show the balloons falling from the ceiling, so it looks like it's for Buff Bagwell.
I know. And I think the people in attendance probably thought it was for Buff Bagwell because the balloons were... Because you can't see that high up, so the balloons just started falling right as Buff made his entrance.
Yeah. Rick Steiner defeats Vampiro in a squash match. Whatever. Of course, they got to cut to Lenny and Lodi in the back, Kay. And Lodi is giving Lenny new tights.
He's massaging him.
Oh, yeah. Lodi says he knows every inch of Lenny. And then
That's how he knows his measurements.
And then they cut to doors that they walked out of, and it says closet.
No, it says in closet.
But they came out of the closet, Kay. Oh my God, do you get it?
No, you don't get it. They go out of the doors that say in closet.
Yes.
It doesn't say closet. It says IN closet.
And they came out of the closet. Do you get it? Do you get gay jokes, Kay? Aren't they funny?
I don't get it. Do you get it? I need it explained to me.
So, of course, after that, they cut to Bret Hart and a documentary video of him and his brother Owen Hart passing away, and then they shoot an empty ring.
I forgot that they go from that to this. Wow, talk about total whiplash.
Yeah, and then they're plugging Bret Hart. He's going to come out, address the crowd after the commercial. He does. It's his first public comments in months since his brother's death, unfortunately, and this was very moving. Bret Hart was very straight-laced. He doesn't know if he's going to retire or not, but he kind of wants to be a wrestler. And of course there's a shit human in the crowd, there always is, where he's telling him to fucking hurry up. And we watched this the same week Moxley came back from rehab, and there was the fan that told him he was a drunk and get out of the ring. There's always that one shithead. It never fails.
That's called a wrestling fan.
Yeah. All right. So then, you notice Eric Bischoff's been off this show a little while?
Yeah, he was on the show for like ever, and then just stopped existing.
Yeah, strange. So after the Bret Hart eulogy, essentially, which was very moving, it cuts to Eddie Guerrero accusing all of the luchadors stealing his money.
Get it?
Yeah. So I'll just cut to the payoff there, where they get a legit lineup with the tape and heights and everything, and Eddie Guerrero and Doug Dillinger are forcing all the luchadors to take off their masks to reveal their faces, because Eddie says he can identify them, but then he goes, "Oh, well, they're masked wrestlers. I've never seen their face before, so I can't." But then he notices one of them is Prince Ikea, and he's like, "Oh, Ikea, what are you wearing a mask for?" Says Juventud, or not Hoovy. He says Psychosis is like devilishly handsome. Why is he wearing a mask? Then he laughs at the other people being ugly. The whole point was to laugh at luchadors and their masks. It's stupid.
Because Eric Bischoff hates luchadors.
He sure does. It's dumb. I don't know what the point of it all was, other than to laugh at Mexicans.
Kind of funny that he mentioned that Psychosis looked handsome, because doesn't Psychosis get demasked?
Yeah, he demasked later, and he is indeed handsome. But later, of course, when he goes back to Mexico, he puts on the mask, just like Rey Mysterio.
Of course. Doesn't that cause an uproar over there? Aren't they like upset when they do that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, all the Mexican commissions, and everyone's just like, WCW was stupid. Put it back on.
Yeah, Eric Bischoff is a sucky person. Put the mask back on.
Do you like your shoot fighting in wrestling, Kay?
I sure loved it. How'd you know?
Yeah, well then you're going to get Jerry Flynn versus the Cat in a kickboxing match.
I'm excited.
It sucked. DQ finish of all things. Whatever.
How do you DQ with this situation? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Lodi versus Van Hammer. Van Hammer squashes him. They do some gay jokes. Whatever.
Commentary does gay jokes. Van Hammer does gay jokes. Everybody does gay jokes. You get it? They're gay. Get it?
Unfunny comedy.
Not very funny at all, no.
Mean Gene brings out Roddy Piper. Roddy agrees that rap is crap. Wants to talk to Sting. And we get fake Sting. And Piper cuts an awkward promo on fake Sting. Gene is not having it. And then they beat up fake Sting. Kay, what was the point of this?
I don't know.
Me
but
neither.
Roddy Piper cuts these promos, and he seems to ramble for like minutes at a time about nonsense.
Did you know Piper wants a boxing match against Buff Bagwell at Bash of the Beach?
I do now.
Do you know why a boxing match?
No.
Well, it's because we don't
Why?
get a reason.
Okay. I understand now. Thank you.
The best reason I could come up with was because they want to get Judge Mills Lane, the boxing referee, to do it.
Randomly comes out, and I had completely forgotten that this was the 90s, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry got a fucking TV show.
Yeah. Rey Mysterio and Conan against Steven Regal and Fit Finlay.
Oh, you mean Conan and his little brother?
Yes, of course. This was good, and it's a shame that the West Texas Rednecks came in for the DQ.
Can't have nice things.
There you go. No. Wait, has every match ended in DQ except Van Hammer?
Yes, it has.
Cat Flynn DQ. No, Steiner squashed Vampiro. This show sucks. Who cares?
Who cares about that? Who counts that as a match? I don't count. I forgot that happened.
Oh, let's see. We get the West Texas Rednecks concert. They're
Not playing those instruments, by the way. It's
oh
hilarious.
no, it's fantastic. They're lip syncing terribly. Everyone's got big smiles on their faces because they're having a grand old time.
They're not moving their hands on the frets at all. So
No.
they're fake strumming and just keeping their hands on guitar. Whoever's playing the drums is just hitting the same things. But
I think that's Barry Windham.
He's doing the same motion. I think he saw like a Def Leppard tape of someone doing the drums and thought that's how you play the drums.
Fantastic. I love it. No, I love Barry. I love the West Texas Rednecks. They're awesome. I love them. Their concerts
The crowd loves them.
The crowd loves them, but they also boo them because they're wasting their time with the concert. And I loved how when the concert ends, a bunch of pyro goes off behind him, like they knocked it out of the park. Do you know why?
Trash
Kay?
was thrown in the ring. Trash was thrown in the ring. By the way, we noticed that immediately.
Oh yeah. Do you know why these nitros lately are like 15 minutes shorter?
I'm curious of that. Why is this?
It is because they are cutting out the Master P concerts that are going on.
Oh, so the Rapper Scrap concert, Master P does a concert. Which one of these is over, I wonder?
Right. Yeah. Let's see. They do a video of Savage and the Company, Macho Man, What Up, Mach, Jersey
do you watch your wrestling shows for concerts? Because I just kind of curious. Do you watch your wrestling shows for concerts?
Sure. I watch Jericho's entrances over and over again and sing Judas.
Because you're a mark.
Jersey Triad versus Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, and Perry Saturn. Does this end in DQ? I always assume.
Who cares? Who cares? This match sucked.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care either. Megadeth.
Wait, what happened?
No. Megadeth performed live apparently on this show too.
What? Why? Huh? I'm confused. What?
Yeah.
When and why?
I don't know. World title match main event.
After?
Sid,
you skipped the hack promo, the really terrible hack promo.
Yeah, there was a bad hack promo. Whatever. There's
Looks
going to
like he
be
was
like
sitting
some
on a
hardcore match
ladder.
at Bash of the Beach.
He's sitting up on a ladder, talking to a camera. You could barely hear what he was saying, and he was just rambling.
Yeah, he's Sam McCallahan's hacker character. You think you're a hardcore hacker? I'm a hardcore hacker. I'm hardcore hack. Get it? I hack things.
And he said he's hard.
He is hard.
I don't think he realized what he had said
No.
because he kept going.
Main event. Sid versus Kevin Nash. It goes like 4 minutes. Fake Sting comes down. DQ. Who cares? Show sucks.
Sting comes down. Trash is continuously pelted at the ring.
Yeah, great. What was the actual finish?
Who cares?
Let's see.
What was the point of any of this? It was a DQ.
Yeah, there was a lot of shit. All right, so let's predict Bash of the Beach. Let's predict the card, shall we?
Fuck me.
It's going to be Nash against Savage.
Yeah, and this is going to be where Savage wins the belt. My prediction, I hope, is true.
There's the Hardcore Invitational match by Hardcore Hack.
Joy! I'm excited. Raven's not going to be there, so I don't care.
There's the Van Hammer Rick Steiner match.
I'm just absolutely percolating with excitement for that one.
Is there anything else? Oh, the Jersey Triad against Malenko and Saturn.
I hate this.
The boxing match between Piper and Bagwell.
Oh, I'm so overjoyed.
Doesn't this sound like a great card?
If anyone bought this, the fuck is stupid. This does not look like something that's worth
A lot of people
money.
did not buy this pay-per-view, Kay. I'll let you know.
Gee, I wonder why. Good God.
Is there anything else?
Hey guys, how do we make sure that nobody buys our pay-per-view? Let's have a bunch of really bad matches, and then wonder why we go out of business in like 2 years.
I hope this company dies, Kay.
Oh, little did you know. I've got good news for you.
What's Sting and Booker T doing? Nothing?
I don't know. Where is Booker T? When's the last time we saw that man? He's been like gone for like ever, it seems like.
Yeah.
We saw he was with Stevie Ray, right?
No.
Right?
No.
Oh.
I guess that's it. Do we want to try our luck at some random luchador match, or just fuck it? Who cares?
Fuck it, who cares? At this point, this card could go into the ocean. Throw this entire card right into the fucking ocean. Just drown that bitch.
All right. Well, that was episode 98. I hope you enjoyed our Nitro review.
Fuck Nitro. Fuck WCW.
I enjoy these Nitros more because we don't take notes, because the show doesn't deserve them.
No, it doesn't deserve our undivided attention.
No, we watch it. We know the show's bad. So that's it.
Need more alcohol when we watch these now.
Russo's coming, Kay. He's almost here.
Oh, I can't wait for that, because that's gonna be so bullshit. I can't help but laugh.
I mean, we're just gonna be. I don't even know how you recap it, because there's so much shit that happens.
You don't.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, is it any better than what we're doing now?
Listen, we're not gonna recap those. We're gonna feel those.
See you next time, everybody.
See ya.